Yeah, it was a bunch of different things. He had a bunch of Twitter spaces yesterday about the B1 incident or whatever. I wasn't in the space. I was in there for about 30 minutes or so, and I guess it was just a whole thing about what B1 is supposed to mean to everybody. It was crazy though, because you had I don't know how many spaces yesterday about it. And you had spaces a day still about it. So
it's just high school antics, bro. At the end of the day, that's the way I see it. That's the way a lot of other Black American intellectuals see it. Just high school antics and everybody trying to see who the cool kids versus the nerds in the room. That's all it is, man. The real code and the real focus is reparations, man. In our Black agenda, as far as our protection, our federal protections that we are owed and granted, which is that 40 acres in the mill. And I know a while ago, everybody was talking 40 acres in the Tesla, but I'll try to post it to the Jumbotron. So, a Black man just recently sued Tesla. Judge awarded the man like $150 million, man. But, Tesla, they got these lawyers on deck. So I think the judge knocked it down to like $20 million. But, hey, at least he got paid on that note.
He knocked it down to 15 and told him that basically he has to take that $15 million. I guess that was too much money in his opinion for the Black dude to have. So he went ahead and knocked it all the way down to 15 million. I'm like, what kind of crap is that?
Right. I didn't go back and look at it. So that might have been an appellate judge or appeals judge, a secondary arbitrator or whatever, a third party or whatever you want to call it. So they could have said, which is the next step up from just basic civil or whatever lawsuit. It's like a miniature Supreme Court type of appellate court for that type of lawsuit, for that type of money. So, that particular judge or judges probably say, oh, yeah, this is too much. You know what I mean? Yeah, you might have had some racist, whatever. But it didn't happen to anybody else. It was just specifically you, and you were able to prove it, because that's what happened with me in Home Depot on some real shit. They said, well, if it only happened to you, then, it ain't like race-based or whatever. But if you ever get a chance to look up any EEOC, Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, race-based cases filed by Black Americans against whatever corporation, WPI, white public institution, you'll see the majority of them just get tossed out, thrown out, don't even get heard, none of that. I remember sitting in an EEOC office, which is in just about every major city, and it's a federal building, so, you got to get hella checked when you're going up in there. And there was a lot of brothers and sisters up in there right here in the Newark area, the One Federal Plaza or whatever it's called, right here downtown Newark by the famous Penn Station, man. I see so many brothers and sisters like coming out of the office with these intake coordinators, just their face is just like, oh man, oh man, you know what I'm saying? Ready to hurt something, you know what I mean? But that's the game these people play, man. So, you got to be prepared, man. Shout out to Online too, Jersey in the building.
Yeah, I just sent Judge Joe another text just with the link to the actual Twitter space. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll fill him in. We're just gonna go ahead and a couple of the topics that we're talking about reading tonight, or we're talking about discussing. We're gonna be discussing feminism. We're gonna be discussing Bill Cosby, and we're gonna be discussing also the transgender bathroom bill that Oklahoma passed, as well as transgenders in sports. And right now, Georgia put a ban on Georgia and Oklahoma and a number of other states put a ban on transgenders being able to compete against women in a lot of these high school athletics. So we also I want to Ray, go ahead and speak.
I was going to ask the panel, any of you guys see that interview with I believe his name is Andrew Wyatt, that witness that claimed Cosby sexually assaulted her. She named a very specific date, only to come to find out that later she was lying. She was actually in court the day that Cosby allegedly raped her. She was in court that day for Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, so they caught in a lie, huh?
Called a red-handed in a lie.
Now this case here, they talking about this is a civil suit, and they're talking about this happened in 1974. Let me go ahead and read it to y'all real quick. Like I said, when the judge comes in, we can go ahead and fill him in on it. But it says it was published by Black Enterprise on the Newstoter platform. It says Bill Cosby will not testify at his upcoming sexual battery trial. I believe this article is about a week or so old, so excuse it if it's a little bit dated. Bill Cosby will not testify in the civil trial against him, according to People. Jury selection in the civil trial against the 84-year-old Cosby started Monday. Judy Hurt, who filed the case against him, says Cosby molested her in the bedroom at a Playboy Mansion in 1974 while she was a teenager. Jury selection has commenced. Opening statements are expected to begin June 1st. Like I said, it's a little dated, in Los Angeles Superior Court. He does not have to be present in a civil matter, Andrew Wyatt, Cosby's publicist, informed People. Since he is 100% blind with glaucoma and the COVID numbers are going up, we just don't want to take any chances, Wyatt said. He is confident that Cosby will be vindicated. He feels he's in capable hands. He feels he will experience the same vindication he experienced in Pennsylvania. The jurors will pay attention to the facts of this case, and they will make their decisions without any prejudice towards him. We do believe he will be vindicated, and he will be able to move on with his family and continue to provide humanity and humor to the world. According to the New York Daily News, Huth 15 says she and her 16-year-old friend met Cosby in 1974 while he was working on a film set. She claimed that Cosby served her alcohol when they met up a few days later and took her to what she thought was a Playboy mansion. It was there, she claims, Cosby led her to the bathroom and attempted to kiss her on the mouth and slid his hand down her pants. She said Cosby later grabbed her hand and forced her to perform a sex act on him. The lawsuit was filed against Cosby on December 2nd, 2014. Huff is accusing him of sexual battery and intentional infliction of emotional distress. So this is 1974. You're talking about something that's almost 50 years old. And I guess they were saying because of all the stuff that happened back in the lawsuit that was filed back in December 2014. So it's like Bill Cosby, man, he can't catch a break. Soon as he got out of jail, and they came back with something else. I mean, this dude he's 80-some years old. And matter of fact, all this shit happened at the Playboy Mansion. And, you know, Hugh Hefner never got any flack for any of this stuff. Now, people, they had a little series about Hugh Hefner a few weeks ago, I guess, talking about the Playboy Mansion and this and that. Mind you, most of everybody was talking about in the Playboy Mansion, most of the people that allegedly committed all this stuff were black men or whatever. Hugh Hefner was alive. You never heard anything mentioned about Hugh Hefner and any of these girls, anything like that. Not after he dies, they come out with books and talk about where they was getting high there, people was on coke and girls was getting this and that, yada, yada, yada. But when he was alive, nothing was ever mentioned about this with Hugh Hefner. Like, Hugh Hefner was Mr. Untouchable the entire time that he was alive. And now after he's dead, his family, you know, they kind of walk back statements and saying, like, you know, they giving up the Playboy name and this and that. They still getting that Playboy money coming to them. But, you know, they try to distance themselves from the whole Playboy Mansion ideology and name and this and that. So it's just crazy. It's like one way or another, they're going to get Bill Cosby. Anybody have anything they want to mention about it? Ray, go ahead.
So the way I'm understanding this, so basically, they really put Bill Cosby in jail over allegations. Is there any like concrete evidence that is stuck that anyone knows of?
To my knowledge, I mean, it was never even like, I mean, in none of these cases that I can even think that it was even rape. It was supposed to be mostly touching and this and that or whatever. But, you know, and you're right, it's allegations. A lot of times under the stand, women and stuff was changing stories and this and that. It was never anything concrete. A lot of these women claim to be friends with him for years, and then all this stuff came out. So it's just been one mess after another. All you guys in the space, please go ahead and tweet out the link. We're still waiting on Judge Joe Brown, so until he gets here, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna just drop the discussion. And when he gets in, we'll go ahead and fill him in. But go ahead and tweet out the link to your followers, and we're gonna keep this discussion going until he does come in. But yeah, I mean, to my knowledge, there's been nothing really concrete. There's been nothing really hard. I mean, it's just been allegation after allegation. And like I said, the man's 84 years old. They wanted Bill Cosby to stay in prison. They wanted him to go ahead and admit that he did all of these things, but he refused. To his credit, he was like, well, hey, if I got to stay in here, you know, if I have to admit that I did this stuff and I know I didn't do it, I'll just stay in here. He pretty much came to the point where he was willing to die in prison before admit that he did any of this stuff here. And credit to Judge Joe Brown, because Judge Joe Brown, months before they actually overturned that thing in Pennsylvania. Judge Joe Brown months was saying that that's going to be overturned. They're working on it right now. He'll be out. So much props to Judge Joe Brown because he had mentioned that beforehand. Go ahead, Ray.
That got me to thinking. I actually pulled up the deposition, and it says right here, did you ever give any of those young women the Quaaludes without their knowledge? And then he says, that's the question that you've been directed to answer, no. So maybe I could be misunderstanding this, but let me see, how can I say this? But the Cosby case, he admitted to providing the drugs, but not drugging them. If two people are using at the time, Quaaludes, that was a popular part of drug, to enhance sexual sex, that's one thing. But giving someone a drug without their knowledge and then assaulting them is completely fucking different. I think the media knows this, but they conflated the two.
Not only that, man, but back in the 70s, and you're right, like if y'all doing drugs together, okay, there is no drug. And if you willingly take the drugs, I mean, you can't sit up here and talk about somebody drug you. And let's be for real, at a lot of these back in the 70s, a lot of these swinger type events, these wild parties and stuff they was having in the 70s, a lot of these chicks was on drugs with the guys, drinking and everything else. You can't sit up here and say, now, I guess in this case here, this one is trying to say that if she was 15 years old. So, that's a little bit different than what you have with the other women that were grown women and stuff that, a lot of times say that he misused them he used them as a way that they were trying to further their careers, and he took advantage of that and this and that. So, this one here would be different that this girl here is 15 and she claims that her and her 16-year-old friend. But there was also an article came out where she was trying to name a game or something. I don't know if it was something like Donkey Kong or something like that. She talked about they were playing Donkey Kong or something. And people were like, and it was like, well, that's not impossible. That's impossible because that game wasn't even out at the time. And the defense attorney for her was saying, well, yeah, it doesn't matter if she got the name of the game wrong or whatever. The fact of the matter is that he still did that or whatever. So, yeah, that's it. It's crazy, man. It's really, really crazy how this thing is going on. DJ, I see you got your hand up.
Yeah, peace on that. Yeah, that's all these folks have ever done was frame us for things and just, things that we have invented. They, built a framework through the patent office to take it from us. So with that being said, I think they did frame Bill Cosby, keep it real, because he never admitted to any type of guilt that our knowledge. And, but they said that he did admit something a while back, like in the 90s or something. He wound up paying the person off, but that was supposed to have been sealed records, but somehow, that it pops back up. The other thing I want to mention that's around in this case, too, let's talk about the father at HR 40, John Conyers, rest in peace. I believe they set that brother up on a rape charge to get him up out of here because we start talking about reparations again. And being that was an actual bill that's in our house, that could easily be spoken about, talked about, and that's what kind of a lot of, sparked this controversy around reparations. But supposedly Clyburn, and I picked this off Brother Sam too, by the way. He showed it to me, even though I knew the information, but I didn't know Clyburn originally stuck up for John Conyers, but he wound up getting, shut down by the DNC, people that's over him, the bosses. You know what I mean? So that's something I think we really need to look into to see if these people really did set up John Conyers to take a fall, because the brother died a couple of days, after that. You know what I'm saying? Or a couple months after they got him up out of office. So, fix HR 40, fuck HR 40. You know what I mean?
Judge Joe just texted me. He said he will be on his way in just a few minutes. He's finishing up something, so he said he is on his way. Just text. So go ahead, Quad, and speak on it.
Yeah, I want to talk about John Conyers. I mean, it's very possible that they could have, got him up out the paint because he started talking about reparations. I know this is very similar situation to what's my man's name that helped get OJ off?
Johnny Cochran.
Yeah, Johnny Cochran. Once he started talking about, talking about reparations for the Tulsa victims, he mysteriously got in a brain tumor or something like that right after. So yeah, I don't think all these situations and all these events are coincidences. You know, they definitely be doing these type of things. And Bill Cosby is definitely a setup. I mean, it's always the old trope. It's always the old thing. You know, black men doing well. Oh, he raped a white woman to get him out the paint. Bill Cosby, look at what they're doing to Deshaun Watson right now. It's ridiculous. Then he just beat all his cases, and now
man, what they doing to Deshaun or did to Deshaun is over now because you see, won both the federal cases. Man, I hope don't root for the Texans. They're going 0-16 this year, as well as the DC Commanders. They're going 0-16. Fuck you, Jack Del Rio. I don't want to hear nothing about no January 6th compared to the Red Summer. Cracker nigga, no man.
Yeah, I actually thought about doing a Twitter space on Deshaun Watson. I see that he put his Twitter account on private right now. Like, the thing with Deshaun Watson and the difference a little bit with Bill Cosby is that Deshaun, like, it's crazy. When Deshaun got ready to leave Texas, none of this stuff surfaced until he actually left the Houston, Texas. And when he left Houston, then all of this shit just hit the fan. And then you had Cleveland sign him to this huge $200 and some odd $1 million contract. Then you start getting a lot of these white women on ESPN sitting up here talking about, that ain't right that he's getting that money. It's not right that he's going to play again. You got a lot of men talking about, especially white men, talking about he should never play football. He should never hold another football again and this and that. So this is, in terms of his marketability, him able to get endorsements and this and that, like that's over with as far as that's concerned. And the thing is that he had to sit out all last year, so I don't know. And they're saying that when he does come back, that the NFL is going to suspend him X amount of games just for the conduct violation or something like that.
I want to talk about that. So I don't know if you guys seen the other day they're saying another quote unquote victim came up and said Deshaun Watson did something to her. This is recent, and Stephen A. Smith, and you know how he is. He's been calling for Deshaun Watson to be suspended. So Deshaun Watson isn't suspended right now. Stephen A. Smith is going hard body right now to have him suspended.
Stephen A. is Caribbean anyway, so he doesn't.
Yeah, hold your mic, Leon, because I was definitely about to get to that. My brother, raise your hand if you want to come up in the chat. So with that being said, Stephen A. is a fucking coon, and he's a fucking rat, and he don't care about no black Americans. We don't know how this tether got here and got above all our other great black American sportscasters and sports athletes that could have had that job. Close the damn borders. I don't want to hear shit no more. It's over. You know what I mean? Stephen A. is an enemy to black Americans. Roland Martin is an enemy to black Americans in the story. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about Roland Martin, because I'm going to let you go ahead and chime in, Leon, but Roland Martin, to my understanding now, isn't Roland, I guess he was born here, but is one of his grandparents or something Haitian or something? Or I'm not exactly sure.
I don't know his family as far as that, but yeah, he a tether feather too, I guess that's what they call him.
Yeah, from my understanding, I think one of his parents come from Haitian descent. The other one is actually black, American black, but he seems to side more with his Haitian side.
Oh, yeah, and Judge Joe Brown said he is wrapping up his show with The Real Dana. He's on his way, so guys, don't leave out. He said he's on his way. He's wrapping up the show with The Real Dana, and he should be in a few minutes. Leon, go ahead. You got your hand up.
Hey, what everybody said, saying, hey, share this show so let me know, support Judge Joe Brown and Newstoter. Go ahead, Leon.
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead and everybody go ahead and tweet out the link, please.
What's going on, gentlemen?
What's up now?
DJ, what's going on? Going on another fine night, another valuable topic. I want to talk about real quick about that Deshaun Watson. What's going on with that brother? The same thing how dirty they did with Michael Vick. Remember when Michael Vick with the Dogs? They were trying to ban Michael Vick out of the NFL for life. And then something was 3 years. He was off for 3-4 years. Came back, and the man still put numbers up for the 3 years he came back. He was off, and he came back for another 3. Still wound up putting numbers up. So I'm just saying. But yeah, that's how they do it. They always try to do us dirty. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is.
Yeah, Michael Vick. They said they didn't even want Michael Vick. He couldn't even get a dog no more because they was like, well, you screwed that up, son. Like, you don't even deserve to have a dog or whatever. Michael Vick, man, if they could have gave Michael Vick the electric chair for that, they would have gave it to him. So, like I say, with this thing, I thought about with Deshaun Watson doing a Twitter space like that. I just didn't know how everybody would react to it. But I mean, right now, like I say, Deshaun, man, Deshaun's one of the greatest college quarterbacks I've ever seen. He came into the NFL, and he's been a top 5 quarterback. He has tremendous potential and everything else. I mean, he can do some everything on the field. Everybody was willing to break the bank last year to get him from Houston. Houston did break the bank, but right now you got to see. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going to happen with this whole thing with him. I don't know. I definitely he's not going to do no jail time, and definitely, if what he's going to have to do is probably he's going to have to settle some suits here. I think, because you got so many women coming out and this and that, and anytime you're black and you got these amount of women coming out and they're saying this kind of stuff like that, it's problematic. It's problematic, and I'll be honest with you, I get so much content from one of my sources on Newstoter. I just don't post it, man, because it'd be a lot of negative stuff about Deshaun. Like, I mean, I love Black Sports Online. I mean, they were one of the ones that gave me opportunity, allowed me to put their content on the site and curate it and whatnot. But man, if you was to look at that stuff, that I said, I can't post this here, man, because this is just. I mean, they going in and stuff like that. And I said, I'm just gonna have to sit this one out. If you go to the site and you go to sports section, you'll see it. I say, but I'm just not putting it on Twitter. I'm not putting it on Facebook and all the other platforms. I'm just leaving it where it's at because I don't just want to pile on this dude any more than what's already been piled on. And like I said, it's a lot of negativity. So I'm just kind of sitting it out. I did want to do a Twitter space and talk about it and let everybody discuss it and whatnot because right now it's the hottest issue in sports besides the NBA Finals. The NBA Finals is the biggest thing in sports, and then Deshaun Watson is probably the second biggest thing. Leon, I see you got your hand up.
I just want to throw something back about, since we're talking about Deshaun Watson and these alleged allegations. Let's not forget there was a white dude named Ben Roethlisberger for the Pittsburgh Steelers who actually raped the underage girl, and he had no charges, and I think he only had like a 3-game suspension, which 2 of them accounted in the preseason. So he only missed 1 game in the opening season, and all he had to do was pay a little bit of hush money, which his ass should have got banned, and he should have went to jail. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, all of that, and he's still going to end up in the Hall of Fame too. So you're right. I remember Roethlisberger was accused of giving underage girls drinks. He was accused a couple times of what you said and whatnot. He did get suspended for a couple games, but here's the difference between the white athletes and the black athletes. When that stuff happened with Roethlisberger, right afterwards, announcers would mention that he got suspended. They didn't go all into details about why he got suspended, and that was that. When you black and you get something like this over you for the rest of your life, the rest of your career, it always hangs up. It's the first thing that they bring up. And you saw that when Kobe Bryant died. Gayle King, the first thing she brought up was about the allegation in 2000 and whatever it was. The man's body was still warm, and she's already bringing that up. And not only that, but she's a black woman. She's the first one to bring it up. So, like I say, whenever you get accused and you're a black athlete or entertainer, star, whatever, that allegation is always going to hang over your head. And when you're white, they can go ahead, that allegation, they'll mention it every so often, but they'll never harp on it. They'll never bring it up all the time, and it won't define you. Like, just look at Elvis Presley and look at Whitney Houston as an example, or Prince or Michael Jackson. Nobody talks about Elvis being a drug addict all the time and Elvis dying on the toilet. But whenever Whitney Houston come up, it's always that she's a crackhead and she's this and she's that. I mean, they never mention.
And Elvis married his wife.
I was just about to say that he married Priscilla when she was like, she was like 14, 15 years old.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think she was older than that, but when they met, yeah, she was around that age. So yeah, and that's what I'm saying. How often does that come up? Never. Like I say, how often do they make fun of Elvis dying in the damn toilet? Never. But then when it's Michael Jackson or it's Prince or this, that, the first thing they talk about is addiction and crack and this and that. Whitney Houston was a lesbian. She was yada, 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 this and that. It's always all this other stuff, man. So, and with Bill Cosby, just get back on topic, But like I said, I want to keep on that topic as well when Judge Joe Brown comes back, because that'll be the first thing that we talk about. With Bill Cosby pissed a lot of people off in the 80s and the 90s when he was talking about buying NBC. But people also forget that Bill Cosby had a bunch of black buyers with him at one time, and they wanted to buy also the Washington, at that time, the Washington Redskins. The Washington Redskins upped the price so much that Bill Cosby and his investors, they pretty much priced them out. And that was just the way of the NFL pricing them out because they didn't want no black owners. You only have one majority black owner in all of the major three sports. I'm not talking about somebody owning a tenth of the team or something like that, just up there as some kind of symbol, some gesture, whatever. I'm talking about actual ownership. Michael Jordan is the only person in all of the three major sports that actually owns a team outright. First, it was Bob Johnson who used to own BET, and Bob Johnson allowed Michael Jordan to come in and become his partner. And then after that, he sold the team to Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan is the only majority owner in any of the three major sports in America. That's the NFL, Major League Baseball, and NFL, Major League Baseball, and NBA. There is no other black majority owner. You got people that own bits and pieces, like Jay-Z was that time. Everybody thought Jay-Z was a major owner of the Nets. He got the Nets to leave New Jersey and go to Brooklyn. Everybody thinking, well, damn, Jay-Z must get at least 15, 20% of the team. Jay-Z had a fraction less than 1% of the team. So it's just like, yeah. And Bill Cosby, like I said, he took these people off. Bill Cosby was somebody that they just was upset about. They was like, hey, Bill Cosby he's not going to own no NBC, and he's not going to own no major damn sports team in America either. The same way with Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was forever hated when he took that damn Beatles catalog and he stole it. He didn't steal it. He just pretty much he just got it right from Paul McCartney.
It was just a power move. It was just a power move like they would do.
Yeah. It was a power move. And also, Michael Jackson pissed people off too back in like 91, 92 when he had that Remember the Times video. And on that video, at that time, that video was a world premiere. It came on Fox. And on that, and it was Ancient Egypt. And the entire cast was nothing but black people. That was the first time that you ever seen an Egyptian cast of nothing but black people. The entire cast. Eddie Murphy was the pharaoh. Amon, the supermodel, was his wife. Michael Jackson. You had Magic Johnson on there. You had all of the guards, and everybody in the city was black. The dances, everything. It was just ancient Egypt, Kemet, or whatever you want to call it. Is just being pure black. And that's stuck with white people too. So you can't really take this stuff for granted right here. Like that struck a nerve with them. Anybody want to chime in?
Just like they got Arsenio Hall out the thing. Arsenio Hall, at the time he had his late night show, he was out doing the Tonight Show. In the short amount of time that he done, that the Tonight Show did in 30 years. And all of a sudden, ever since he had Mr. Farrakhan on, then that was the end. The next thing you know, once he had Mr. Farrakhan on that one night, 6 months later, Arsenio Hall was off the air.
Yeah, they told him straight up. They told Arsenio not to put Farrakhan on there. Like, they gave him that ultimatum. They're like, don't you bring Louis Farrakhan on there. Now, like Phil Donahue and all the other people, they could bring in skinheads and Ku Klux Klan members and this and that. Nobody was going to do anything to their show. They told Arsenio not to have. And he had Farrakhan on there because that was around the time he had the Million Man March, which was huge at that time. So naturally, he brought him on there. Farrakhan was one of the most known figures in the world, so he brought him on there. And when he did that, Fox is another one. Fox is a backstabbing ass network. Fox was built off of black talent, and every time you had a black show that did great, that got great ratings, here come Fox. You had a living color. Fox had to go in there and the cast was too black. You already had Jim Carrey, you had the white lady on there, but he had to have more white people. You had to have an Asian on there. They had to start taking creative control of how the show was going to be run. You had Rock on there. Rock was too emboldening and too and too black and too positive. So they had to go ahead and they had to mess with that show. They ended up screwing Rocco. You had Living Single. They couldn't leave Living Single alone. Living Single is where they actually got the whole idea for the Friends show. They took that. So it's just anytime, and Fox was, like I say, was built off of black content. And Fox, look at what you got now. Fox News, one of the biggest redneck, peckerwood organization, neo-Nazi damn media outlets in the world.
Yeah, everybody check the Jumbotron. There's a lot of information up there, especially with concerning what we're talking about, Bill Cosby, Deshaun Watson and so on. Go ahead, Tyler. You there, Tyler? Going once, going twice. Go ahead, Ray, if you want to talk, but
I was gonna ask you to post some of that stuff that that I've sent out. If you could put that on Jumbotron, because that really concerns Brother Bill Cosby. A lot of people don't know. Back in the day, I want to say it was like 2004 or something. There was a company that came to him and was like, "Hey, we want to run some pipes through your." It was a gas company. They wanted to run some pipes through his property up in Massachusetts, and he said no. And it ended up costing that company billions of dollars. So, I'm not gonna put on the 10 for a Kofi, but I mean, could it have something to do with what was going on? Were they trying to just get him out the way so they could, resume business as usual?
Nah, for sure. And I did post just stuff to the Jumbotron. Take a look at it for sure. And yeah, I never knew that as I was reading it right there. That's crazy. So you already know, man. This is how they ostracize us. The J people. You already know this is how they come up in the hood, the exact same way, and get us up out of our homes that our families been living in for 100 years, man. You know what I mean? So this is the ostracization of Black America right here. You're looking right at it live in the flesh, y'all. Go ahead, Ray.
If you guys want, I can go ahead and if nobody wants to speak on anything that we said so far, I can go ahead to our next topic. Like I say, Judge Joe Brown comes in, we will catch him up to speed. But I can go ahead and start talking about the actual transgender bills that they have that they're talking about as well, and some of the stuff that they're passing, and some of the things that we got going on and whatnot. So if I see Sam, you want to speak? Go ahead, Sam. Unmute your mic.
Yeah, I want to talk about that Deshaun Watson situation again. And bring that up, and I love y'all show, man. It's awesome. But I want to point out, I find it funny how, for example, I saw that tape that Shannon Sharp said, what it was like yesterday or whatever. And he was ridiculing, Deshaun Watson when he actually was defending Deshaun Watson at first. So now, he's ridiculing him. I find that kind of weird. That he's ridiculing somebody he was once defending because more information came out, whatever. And on top of that, in 2020, Atlanta woman actually accused Shannon Sharp of forcing her to have sex and all this stuff, and he actually had to take a leave of absence. From he was on the Denver Broncos at the time. He was still active. He actually got accused for sexual assault and all that stuff in 2020. I don't know if y'all know that or not, but it was all on CBS News and everything. And then it turned out that woman was actually lying on him, and he went to court and all that, and it wasn't true. So I find it funny that this dude could sit here and be in the same exact situation that Deshaun Watson is, but and a woman actually lied on him, and then he gonna sit here and not even give the benefit of the doubt to Deshaun Watson, even though Deshaun Watson went to court and all that stuff and improved his innocence and stuff. So it's just very weird, how the media. You could definitely tell that there's money involved in all this shit, bro, and that media. I don't know if it's the people are suspecting it's the Houston, Texas owner that's behind all of it, but somebody's definitely behind all that shit, bro.
One thing about Shannon Sharp, because I know him and Umar kind of got into it. Him and Umar Johnson had got into it, but I think somebody had like a fake Umar account, and they said something that Umar said about Shannon Sharp dating white women and this and that kind of like sparked it or whatever. But yeah, Shannon, I don't know. Shannon was a great player, and much respect to him. I mean, he's one of the best tight ends I ever saw, but I don't know. Like Shannon sometimes kind of be on the fence with some of this stuff. Like I say, I don't know. With some in the case of Deshaun Watson, I think that they should kind of wait and see. But like I say, you have the New York Times, the New York Post. When you start having all these major outlets and stuff, and they start pouring it on, that's why I kind of like I say, I got a bunch of content on Newstoter, and I just about Deshaun Watson that I'm just like, hey, I'm not tweeting this out. You know, if somebody comes to the site and they see that, that's one thing I like, but I don't want to tweet this out. Like I said, I just want to wait and see what happens. A bunch of people are piling on this guy. They were saying that these same that the Texas was paying, the Houston Texas, a team that he was employed by, was paying for these hotel rooms that he supposedly was getting these massages from. So, you know, I know people were saying that he was meeting women online, Instagram people, and this and that, and he was getting massages from these people and this and that. People say, well, why not go to a reputable masseuse or massage or whatever you call it? But the thing is that let's be for real, a lot of these massage parlors and stuff too be like prostitution rings and everything else. Just a few years ago, the New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft got busted in a damn prostitution ring at the damn massage parlor, and ain't nothing happened to Robert Kraft. Of course, Robert Kraft is a billionaire, and he does own the New England Patriots, but you don't hear them speaking about that at all no more. They went ahead and they swept that, no charges or anything like that. So I just have a real hard time believing that Deshaun Watson was just going, and I mean, you trying to tell me that all these massages he got from these women were forced and this and that. So yeah, I have a hard time believing that. I just have to kind of wait and see. And like I say, I don't post all that stuff on there because, like I say, it's negative, and I don't want to put it out there like that. So I just kind of just left it alone. Go ahead, Ray.
I'm not trying to get off topic. I wanted to ask the family just their opinion on this. Have you guys seen what's going on with Nick Cannon? He's gotten 2 more women pregnant. I'm hoping that this isn't the case, but I really believe this brother might be really sick, and he's just trying to, get as many kids as he can to continue his legacy. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I just can't see the reason why he would go and have all these kids. He just buried his son a month and a half ago, and he said he took a month and a half off for celibacy, and now he's back to making babies, and already got 2 more women pregnant.
Yeah, he's about got a football team himself. Like every time you turn around, that's crazy because when he was Mariah Carey, he just had them 2 kids, and since he got divorced from Mariah Carey, Nick been popping kids out left and right. So I don't know, like that's gonna hurt his paper down the road too, man. He ain't got Mariah Carey type money either. Nick got some decent money, but he ain't got money like his ex-wife. So you have that many kids. You got to pay for a lot of lifestyles. You got to pay for all those women having them kids from you, and that child support and this and that. So I don't know.
At least he ain't had any with what's the name, Kim Kardashian.
Well, yeah. And Kanye gonna have to dole out a lot of money too with Kim Kardashian as well. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, so with that being said, y'all pretty much we all saying the same thing for the most part. So, Nick Cannon, he's a smart dude, but ever since that situation happened with the interview with Professor Griff, it's like, and then he was full. He pretty much got dog walked by the J folks. You know what I'm saying? And ever since that happened, he's just like, I don't know, this Joker been on some weird ish. And then, like you said about the babies or these his kids, not to speak on that, but definitely check the nationality of the women he popping these kids out with. Yep, real talk.
Real talk, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and just talk about this Oklahoma anti-transgender bathroom bill they got real quick, just to kind of move along. And anybody, like I say, before I go on, if anybody wants to talk about what we talked about so far, that's cool. I see Volvo is requesting. Let me go ahead and let you be a speaker. I don't know if you want to speak right now, Volvo, or you cool, or you want to wait, or whatnot.
Hey, bro, I don't know what's going on.
You can't hear me?
Got real low. As soon as I stepped up the speaker, I'm gonna try to leave and come back. Damn.
That happens to me sometimes too on these spaces.
I can't.
Even tonight, like I'm trying to do the little hand gesture, and they won't let me do it. Okay, finally, it let me do the little hand stuff. But he was like acting a little. I don't know what's up with these Twitter Spaces sometimes, but
you check for updates on your in your iOS or Android store. You know, like
yeah,
I said,
oh yeah, I gotta check that and see. But yeah,
I'll you know, like I always try to say and tell people before you come up on these Twitter Spaces, you know you're gonna be here and you the host, co-host, recording, or you know we doing real stuff. Definitely clean your phone up, check for updates, check for operating system update. Like my tablet done updated like twice within like the last month and a half. So I'm saying all the new features on it, like the GUI, which is GUI, graphical user interface. It's the way you look at it, the things you touch, the buttons. Like you said, some people don't even see the hand to raise up, so you know they be getting knocked down in the post. Other thing is too, I've been finding out. Obviously, you know, people we got to understand. I know we black and we can't afford a lot of things, but if your phone is like 2 to 5 years old, yeah, I know it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality, but you got to get a new one. The technology is moving. Usually it used to move every 2 years. Now with the way things are going, it's honestly moving every year. So in order to stay up with the latest yada yada, kind of upgrade, man. Yeah.
What happened to Volvo? Because he just had his hand up, and then I saw him drop down as a listener.
He said he was going to drop down and come back up. He got a janky phone like Tariq was saying.
I'm like,
before you change topics, and just to add on what you said in that reply to my comments about that Deshaun Watson thing, it's just more about, like, you know, of course, you know, if Deshaun Watson actually did it, I don't support that at all. But I'm just tired of the, you know, of just the same situation we see time and time again with us, is that we are guilty before, you know, it's supposed to be innocent to prove it guilty, and it's the opposite for us, you know, and it's just frustrating time and time again. And I bet you majority of the owners of the NFL probably supported Trump. I support Trump's immigration policies, but I don't support Trump's when he come on, you know, national TV and say he grew a woman by the pussy, whatever, you know, whatever. And I bet you most of them support that though, right? But it's always a problem when you know, they ready to throw ass in jail, but they ain't ready to throw that president that they support in jail. You know, when he come out and say that shit publicly. You know, Deshaun Watson is not on tape saying shit like that, but the president is, and they support him. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? But
absolutely. And the thing about it, if Trump wasn't such an idiot, he would have easily won re-election. But he was such a dumbass and just said stuff that you just can't even say. I mean, he was such an idiot and a dumbass that he made it. He made an election that should have been a fairly sizable win for him turn into a close loss. Go ahead, Kajira.
Yeah, Sam just made me think of something. You know, he just said that. You know, I mean, we all know, but he said that. You know, every time something happens with us, we're guilty before proven innocent. You know, in the case of Deshaun Watson that he's going through right now. You know, Stephen A. Smith saying that he should be suspended and all this other stuff. I think when these type of things happen to us, we gotta start suing these media companies or something. These companies gotta start being held accountable.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see with Cardi B, I mean, even though she's not a media company, she basically suing Tasha K and whatnot. That's why when people put in the headlines, you have to be careful. You have to put stuff like allegedly. You can't just go out there and say, well, this person did this person did that. You have to put the word allegedly to try to cover yourself. It's like having an LLC. You better put it in there, because if you can't definitely prove that, you can be hit for liable for slander and whatnot. So you definitely have to be careful about what you put in there and whatnot. So yeah, DJ, you got your hand up.
No, I was just going to tell Sam, since we're talking about, in Quadid, we're talking about slander and all that stuff. Hey, Sam, go tweet our lawyer, please, and bring her to the helm.
While we still waiting on Judge Joe, DJ, look out for him just in case, because I'm going to just read this quick article about the transgender. First, I got to talk about this dude, black dude. I'm not sure this dude is FBA. I'm not sure exactly who old boy is. But before I talk about the actual transgender bathroom bill that they have in Oklahoma, I got to talk about this Negro that they found they found for the Carolina Panthers. He is now photos of NFL first openly transgender Panthers cheerleader named Justine Simone Lindsay. Carolina Panthers have welcomed the first openly trans member to the cheerleading team, and according to TPS, the Carolina Panthers are officially the first NFL team to hire an openly transgender female cheerleader. Of course, it's a black person, a black man. 29-year-old Justine Simone Lindsay hopped on Instagram and made the announcement. Cat's out the bag. You are looking at the newest member of the Carolina Panthers Top Cat cheerleader at Top Cats as the first transgender female, Lindsay wrote. I would like to thank the beautiful and talented dancers who supported me along the way, alumni Top Cats, family, friends for your love and support. I was so scared, Lindsay told BuzzFeed News about posting the Instagram in her first interview since joining the team. There's just some things you can't post. My goal is to create a team of individuals that are absolute fire on the field but are incredible human beings in the locker room. Good friends, good people, and at the end of the day, you have to walk through the door first to get that spot. Most members of the NFL cheerleading squads are only employed part-time. They're usually students or have some form of employment that supplements their roles because NFL cheerleading is seasonal work. Cheerleading is ingrained in American culture. Children begin at an early age, and it is considered a highly competitive sport in many parts of the U.S. with nationally televised competitions. The Baltimore Colts have the distinction of being the first team ever to employ the use of cheerleaders during a game almost 70 years ago. They went on to become a regular staple in the NFL. 25 of the 32 franchises have permanent teams with names such as Buffalo Bills, Cincinnati Bengals, and the Chicago Honey Bears. Justine will now be stepping into the world. While she does not consider herself a trailblazer, her experiences with the Panthers may now open the doors for others to follow their dream. And like I said, the first transgender cheerleader they had to be a black dude. I'm not exactly sure this dude is FBA. That name kind of sounds Caribbean.
What was the name again?
Justine Simone Lindsay. And I saw a picture of old boy, because old boy had like a bald head and whatnot. I'm not exactly sure about that. Like, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, I think people saying earlier that he is an FBA. I didn't check for myself, but the overall consensus that I got is that he isn't.
That he is or isn't?
Isn't.
Okay, yeah, I don't think old boy is, but like I say, it's no shock and no surprise that the first one would be a Negro man because they like totally pushing this on black men. Like every time you turn the goddamn commercial, you see this stuff right here. And I mean, if that's what you want to be, man, fine. But goddamn, like, come on, like my man sitting up here, and like I say, you can't. If you're one of these football players, you can't say anything because you're in the PC era. You're gonna be blasted by the media. You're gonna be blasted by the media. You're gonna be looked at as being a bigot, a racist, and all this other stuff. So this is just ridiculous, man. Like I played a little ball, and like I just can't believe this right here. Go ahead, Ray.
No, I was gonna say, brother, I definitely agree with you. I ain't got if that's your thing, you want to do whatever, just knock yourself out. But you just gotta leave these children alone. I was just looking and if I would suggest if any of you guys don't, there's a site. It's called Libs of TikTok. They actually post some pretty entertaining stuff. If you guys ever check that out, man. And that was in San Francisco, I want to say. They had a drag show for with children, obviously sitting there looking and stuff. And they had all these drag queens coming out. And one was named Nicole Jizz or something like that. You know, just extremely inappropriate. It's sad that we can't even send out our children to school. My daughter, she was watching YouTube, and how the YouTube has ads and stuff. Like really quick, an ad popped up. It was Billy Porter in a dress promoting some new movie he got where he's like a Disney princess or something, and it goes away. And it's just like the kids see that, they see that stuff really quick.
Hey, just to let y'all know too, like earlier when I posted out this Twitter space, we had T.S. Giselle talk about that she's gonna be stopping up in here and that because she saw the title being feminism, saying that she's a feminist and that she definitely got to come in here and have us say and told me not to mute her mic. Don't try to hog the mic from her. So just to let y'all know that she may be stepping up in the space to do her usual trolling or whatever. So just to give y'all the hands up. Go ahead, Ray.
I was just gonna speak on that. Just please don't even let that person in the room, because you know they're just gonna come in there trying to shift the energy. Everything's black man's fault. Blah blah blah. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. We trying to have constructive dialogue, and you come here trolling on some dumb shit.
Agreed.
Right.
Kimberly.
Right.
Kimberly, I see you got your hand up.
Yes, hey fam. Newstoter, DJ1, Sam, Ray, peace and love to all you all. I just wanted to break you guys off a little something in regards to my perspective of men making decisions, or even women making decisions to change their gender. Now, the righteousness of all of this is that, one, God didn't create us that way. Just if you got a complaint, take it up with the man upstairs. Don't take it up with individuals who's righteous through and through. And when I say through and through, I'm a woman, and I complete my husband. That's it, and that's all. I believe a man has a responsibility to God to sit at the head of the table and to orchestrate the visions that God puts in his mind to do what is right for himself, for his family, enjoy life. I think that me personally, I think that when you remove the fundamental structure of why we do what we do, which is, the purpose of living this life in a way that it pleases the Most High and ourselves, whatever that may be, each to their own, knock yourself out. I'm just saying, now you have to use your foundation and stand for something, or you fall for anything. And when it comes down to the children, just like they are able to easily, put this propaganda out that, this feminist stuff from America, and this is my choice, and I feel like, I want to have a man or have a woman. Okay, well, if you make those decisions, and those decisions are your decisions, then whatever judgment that falls behind that decision, it is what it is. However, we have just as much as right to put the truth around our children to help them create a community that does not include that deception. And I land my plane there. And anybody, any female, any man want to come see me about what I'm saying, I'm on the block.
All right, I heard you there. I won't blame you. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm gonna come back to you. I see Immortal is requesting to speak. Let me see if he wants to speak right now, or
before you let Immortal go, hey, how you doing, Ms. Arnold? So, can you speak on if you know anything about the Deshaun Watson situation, or anything about like slander? If you saw my message in your DM, or maybe you want to come back and talk about it in a second. But check your DM though.
Will do.
Immortal, you can go ahead and unmute your mic.
Yeah, what's good, Immortal? Come on up.
Yes, thank you, family. Thank you. Greetings to everyone. And hopefully I haven't missed the Honorable Judge Joe Brown yet.
No, he's running late. He said he's on his way, so
that's okay.
And about a few more minutes, I might have to go ahead and text him again. But yeah, he said he's on his way. Hey. He's finishing up his show with The Real Dana on YouTube. So
that's okay. I got patience if you do. Shit. But because that's like I say, that's the Honorable Judge Joe Brown. He is a master teacher. You won't agree with everything that he says, because he's amassed a span of time that has seen many things. So I'll put it that way. And some of the things he done seen, you ain't seen it. You'll never see it because of the things he did. So thank God for that. And so I'm looking for the brother to come through, because I always learn something from him. And the only other thing I wanted to add on this topic, feminism, Bill Cosby, and more. Yeah, Judge Joe Brown gonna break down some jewels. And as far as what the lady was speaking of just a moment ago, all the young people, I would hope that, and I would suggest and hope that you would check out. I hate when my mind do this, but the lady who wrote the book, Black Man's Guide to the Black Woman. Okay, Dr.
Shahrazad Ali.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Dr. Shahrazad Ali. There's jewels in there. Oh my God, so many jewels. And the ladies, you should read it before your man. Let me get you that, and let me get to that to you first. You should read it before him. Don't let him read it before you. You hear me? That's my advice anyway. Hey, but and Dr. Frances Cress Wilson, of course, everything that she had to say about relationships. Try to wait till you men. Try to wait till you're 35. By the time you'll have, hopefully honed a skill, become an expert at something. And ladies, not before you turn 25, because by that time you should have been able to educate yourself, and then you'll still be within a good range to have the best outcomes for childbearing and things of that nature. So, peace to y'all, and thanks for the room, man. I'm gonna drop down.
All you niggas suck dick. All you niggas suck dick.
Who the hell said that?
Yeah, I had a feeling the Joker Anthony Stewart right there in the comments, man. So y'all go ahead and block that Joker right there. Anthony Stewart, you know what I mean? Right there in the comments.
Lame as fuck. Lame as fuck.
Word up, blackface, you know how it go. Well, go ahead, though, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Mort, I just wanted to say also, man, I caught you in the space earlier. I'm not sure if he's still in here, but yeah, I caught you in the space, and you was talking about the space from yesterday and whatnot. And I appreciate you talking about how well it went and whatnot, and the vibe was good until we had like a certain little incident I'm not even gonna go back into, but yeah, appreciate it. Like you stepping up and speaking on that yesterday, man. Quas, you got your hand back up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Ray said a little earlier. And then this guy that just came up is a prime example. I was going to say, yeah, when people like TSL or this guy just popped up come in, just automatically get rid of them, blah, blah.
Oh yeah, I mean it didn't, because at first I was like trying to figure out like who the hell is saying that, like, but you got clowns that like to come on here, and people know you on social media. They gonna come, they just look to troll rooms and stuff like that, and you hear no matter what room you're in, you're gonna have a troll come up in there and say something stupid. So I mean, hey, because I was trying like who's saying that? Where's that coming from? And I'm like, okay, DJ, you got your hand up, or you just
No. With that being said, so people like that, you got to go catch their account real quick. You know what I mean? Because I'm quick to drop people out the chat real fast. That's why I muted the mic so quick. When I first heard it, I said, "Oh yeah, here we go with the BS." So when I call those names out, you go to that bubble right there and click that account and block them, bro. You feel what I'm saying? All day. If everybody follow on one accord and be on call with that, we could keep them up out of all these rooms. Because the other homies see that this person is blocked. Oh, who the hell is that? No, we can't mess with this person. But go ahead, Miss Arnold. Go ahead.
Hey, I just want everybody to know that Judge Joe was in. I just saw him.
Yeah, we got the judge up. The judge getting ready to step up in here.
He's up here. But can we just let Miss Arnold finish this real quick before we let Judge go?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Miss Arnold.
Okay, thank you, DJ One. I just wanted to say about the possibility of defamation, slander, and falsity. Sometimes people make statements and it's false, and it gives the wrong impression about another person. So you guys keep your eyes out on that, and just try to, let me know. If you think that there's a radio station or something out there that's
saying something. DJ, do you guys need me to drop as a co-host?
What's that, Ray?
I was asking, since my cousin is here, do you guys need me to drop out as a co-host so he can come up?
He's already up. He's just whenever he's he's up.
It's good. Just leave it be. Well, welcome to the show, Mr. Judge Joe Brown. But go ahead.
Well, I'm glad to be here. That's Judge Joe Brown or Mr. Joe Brown, not both of them. Both of them are titles.
Hey, Judge, it's good.
About that.
It's good to hear from you, Judge. I'm glad that you can make it. I know you was doing the Real Dana show, and I'm just glad you was able to step up in here with us.
Yeah, it's a good thing to listen to every now and then. You can check her out on YouTube. Just Google it. The Real Dana. I'm on there every week on Thursday. But anyway, back to our topics at hand. There's a lot of nonsense being put out there right now, that's designed to distract you, because some people want very much to get folk away from understanding that they are really the main causes of the problem, or at least the immediate causes of the problem. I just got through looking at something while I was doing Dana's show, and they're having these hearings at night to generate a larger audience on what happened January 6th. And though people need to be prosecuted for things, they're essentially misdemeanor things, not conspiracies. And there were tens of thousands of people in D.C., and a scant handful or two of people got unruly, and you're trying to build a whole lot of garbage around the proposition that it was this evil man that we did well to turn out of office. But you understand that we've got a lot of violence going on in hood and hallway these days that comes from giving people the wrong things to emulate and to identify with. And you've got individuals that want to commit murder-suicide, and you give them a great way to do that to get maximum attention for their efforts. So when you see this kind of thing in hood and hallway, you ought to find out who's responsible for fostering it so much. One of the other problems is that you don't need a gun to kill. And I've taken martial arts for 55 years, and I'm an old man, and I know how to kill somebody quickly, very quickly, with bare hands and no weapon. So what are you going to do with me when I walk into a crowded room? Are you going to say, where is your license to be you? Where is the license for your knowledge? Or are you going to say, that's Judge Joe Brown. He's got good character. He would protect us, not harm us. You see, we keep getting away from that truth that it is character that causes public peace, dignity, and order, not the absence of weaponry, because for most of our time on this planet, all we had to do was reach down in the dirt and get a rock, and we had what we had for our best level of weaponry at several points in our existence. So where do you go with this? Character? Or is it some kind of cover-up for what you're doing that is ineffective parenting, no home training, no makeup for that by having a society that tries to teach men and women that they have responsibilities because of what they are? Or are we trying to say, okay, grass is greener on the other side, you can have all of the perks for one thing without any of the dues to be paid for another? We don't have to look at character because we have for 50 years been putting out poison as the ideation of character. So let's go find the boogeyman to blame. That doesn't work because we have to live in what we have wrought. And it's time to clean it up. Now, with that said, let me participate with the ongoing discussions. Anybody got anything to say about that?
No problem. Anybody want to respond to that before we go ahead and just get the judge up to date on what we've been talking about?
Yeah, that's a lot of information right there, Judge, going on. But we hear you, brother. But go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, Judge, we were talking about the civil suit trial going on with Bill Cosby, and I had just read an article. I know you're pretty much up to date on that. How do you feel about that? That's going on right now about the civil suit, that something that allegedly took place back in 1974.
Okay, I talked to Dr. Cosby personally several times in the last few weeks on the phone, and also his publicist, who has been in the news, and he's a very able young man. And they're making a point, which is there are a lot of lies being told, and like the Socialist Workers' Party, aka Nazi, said long ago, tell a lie long enough, loud enough, and often enough, and you can get anyone to believe it. And I add the caveat, even the liar, him or herself. And you've got Gloria Allred involved in this thing, and she's been in this con game. She's been pulling off on public and men for a while, where she threatens to file something bogus or questionable on them, and she gets them to settle as a cheaper option to defending something. But Dr. Cosby represents a nightmare for the feminists that are behind this mess, and that is, he's a black man, he's straight, he's well off, he's educated, he's articulate, he has charisma, and he does things, and he's got a long track record for standing up for what's right. Now, they hate that. First off, starting with his race, black. That is an anathema to feminists. They think black men are the worst of the worst. They love gay black males, but they hate strong black men worst of all. And they hate men, and they don't like men. But they fail to recognize that men and women are here to cooperate. Mother Nature, God, or whatever you want to call it, the gods, if you are into that, have set something up over a long, long period of time where there are boys and girls of a given species. They attract each other, they court, they mate, they breed, they have offspring, they raise those offspring, and the cycle goes on. And some people have taken themselves out of the loop, and they hate it because they don't know why they took themselves out of the loop. They don't understand it, and they're crippled. We need to have empathy and sympathy for them, but we don't need to cripple ourselves to closely identify with them. So Dr. Cosby is taking this moment to expose this kind of charade. This woman that is the plaintiff has been exposed in all sorts of tales. And some of the witnesses that she initially produced were found to have actually been in the California State Penitentiary at the time they claimed to have witnessed certain things. So it is a witch hunt that is beginning to flip-flop. It is adding further ballast to the hashtag #MeToo thing that did have some valid points. Some things needed to be corrected, but it became a coverall for those who just hated the opposite sex, which is not healthy. Man and woman balance each other. They contribute to each other. The sum becomes greater than each individual part weighed separately. So we need each other. And there's a 50-50 chance of your offspring being born, boy or girl. You had the same 50-50 chance, and that's just the way the dice was rolled. So get over your resentment that you don't have what you think are the perks of one sex, because each sex has obligations that it has to pay, and those are heavy obligations, whether those be the pangs of birth and everything that's attendant upon that, whether it is the horrible but loved burden of motherhood, or whether it is the process of starting everything on the way as a man, but having the awful burden of providing and protecting and being expendable, while women and children are a resource that must be protected at all costs. Remember, being a man carries with it the obligation to go down with the Titanic and leave the lifeboats to the women and children. And to do that takes a lot of conditioning that we are not giving these boys to help them to become men. We leave it to the boys to seize opportunities to man up. But it is more difficult now than it was in my day, because society at large is not telling boys to be men and showing them how to do it or giving them images. It's actually doing the opposite, and that is poison. So, yes, I commend Dr. Cosby and his crew for having the moral fortitude and personal courage to put self on the line again instead of settling this mess and demanding a trial and exposing it for the farce that it is. That said, that's my opinion on what's going on with Dr. Cosby's situation.
Well, you made some great points. Now, I remember, Judge, so I remember when last year, I believe, when he when Bill Cosby got out, before he even got out, you pretty much predicted that that the conviction was going to be overturned. I mean, you pretty much predicted that months in advance that his conviction was unconstitutional and that it would be overturned. So I have to give you credit for that. I know you're a master of the law and whatnot, but you definitely on that you were able to tell the future exactly how that was going to play out, and then you went on to destroy Lamont Hill as well.
Oh, Lamont Hill is a jackass. He ought to be ashamed of himself for being so girlish and unmanly and doing what he's doing to keep his miserable little low-paying job in the industry, such as it is. Now, Dr. Cosby is a man. Lamont Hill ought to watch Dr. Cosby reruns so he can find out how to be one.
Yeah, he's definitely a spineless individual. Does anybody, also all of you guys that's in the actual space here, please go ahead and tweet it out to your followers if you can. Tweet, let them know that we have Judge Joe Brown in the house. So go ahead and tweet out the space. Does anybody want to ask the judge a question before we go on to the next topic? If you do, raise your hand and we'll let you go ahead and speak. Ray, go ahead.
What's going on, cuz? How you doing tonight?
Hey, yeah, this is my real cousin. We found each other on AncestryDNA.com. So
it's a very small world.
I would commend that. Now, when I started off, they had 440 people that they had tested that proved to be blood kin of mine. Now it's going on 1,500. So the number increases as they test more people. So try it out. They'll tell you where you came from, what your background is about, where the people on that side were, when, and where they traveled. It's interesting, and you'll meet up with some good people like I did with Cousin Ray here. Anyway, cuz, what you got?
No, in your humble opinion, what do you feel like is the end goal for the LGBT? Because the other night I was looking at this grown man, and he says, you know what, my whole life, I'm trans, so I'm actually a girl. This grown man is identifying as a girl. Do you think it's moving towards something? Hopefully not, but where they're able to, say, hey, you can't say anything to me because I identify as a girl. I should be able to date your son that's underage because I identify as a girl. What is the end goal do you feel is going to be for the LGBT?
Well, let me explain something. LGBTQ is a cult. Just because someone's gay does not mean they support LGBTQ any more than being, say, Islamic means you support ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Or if you're a Christian, you supported, let's say, Jim Jones and drinking Kool-Aid. If you get what I'm saying. So this is a cult. And they're trying to be held as a religion, and that's what they use the so-called Emmett Till anti-lynch bill to set up. To understand that, the lynch bill says the following three categories are subject to lynching. Those based on religion, those based on race, and those based on sexual orientation. We have a problem with American federal law in that the caption does not have to reflect the body of the bill. And the crucial part about that anti-lynch thing is not lynching. It is introducing into the lexicon of American federal law sexual orientation for the first time as a category. You do not have to have a killing for that to be a lynching now, because it includes killing, which you'd think would be necessary for a lynching, but it also now covers a beating or a kidnapping. So when we talk about the religion, Why do I say LGBTQ? Because check this out. If you go to a synagogue and you're Jewish, that's expected. You go to church and you're a Christian, that's expected. If you go to mosque and you're a follower of Islam, that's expected. If you go to temple and you are a Hindu, you've got a pantheon of various gods. You go to the temple. If you are a follower or Zen practitioner or you are a Buddhist, you go to temple. But guess what? The last two don't have a God. It's a system of philosophy. And LGBTQ has become representative of a system of philosophy that seeks to become the official state religion. Go to Washington, D.C. sometimes and check it out. You'll see from the 15th floor of a federal building a rainbow banner hung to the ground. You will see rainbow sidewalks painted by federal employees. You will see rainbow crosswalks and rainbow flags in the windows of most of the establishments in the government zone downtown D.C. You go to an American embassy or consulate and you see, and this is in violation of American law, you see the American flag at the top of the flagpole where it's supposed to be, but where it's not, you see the symbol of this new religion, the rainbow flag. They can't put a flag with a cross on it up there. They can't put a flag with a crescent and a star up there. They can't put one with a six-pointed star up there, but they can put the rain. They can't put it up there, but they do because they violate the law. They put that rainbow flag up there. You can't teach Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, or Judaism in a public school, but they're teaching rainbow. You cannot sit there and impose a religion as a condition of governance, but they do LGBTQ, the cult. You see where this is going? You don't have manhood talking. You don't have manhood ideation. You've got something that started off about 55 years ago where you had the lesbian crowd that hated men, the feminist crowd that hated that they weren't men, the beta boys that hated the fact that they could not be accepted as men, and you had the gay crowd that hated that they couldn't act like men. And then you had the anti-war bunch that added the ballast to make the movement get started, which was war is a man thing, and the way you stop war is to train boys to be girls so they grow up to act like women, and this is an insult to women. They will be emotional and cry and shout and let it all hang out instead of being so uptight and under self-control that they let these things build up until there's war. You need to raise the boys like girls, man. So they about and cry, man, instead of trying to be uptight and causing war. See, this is the way they used to do this stuff. And then it got to be where they took control of Hollywood. Hollywood was going broke in the face of color television. So they got a chance to come up with these new ideas and take over the movie industry. They said, we have a bright idea. The black folk want to see themselves. They will pay anything to see something that appeals to them. And let's hit the lowest common denominator. Instead of trying to put stuff out where black folk uplift themselves, let's show the gangsters, the hoes, the pimps, the drug dealers, the murderers, the thieves, the robbers, the burglars and everything, and make them the heroes so everybody down there can identify with that. And we'll get this huge cash flow, and they did. And it saved them. And the latest one was Disney was $1.25 billion in the hole with ABC, so they came up with Black Panther so they could get black folk to give them an enormous cash flow so they could pay off the interest on the judgment that had been taken against them by the people that created So You Want to Be a Millionaire back in 2011. Now, that said, they got control of the motion picture industry and then Hollywood, and then they took over news, and they had this thing they used to talk about on the campuses back in the late 60s of insinuating themselves into each political party so they could create, and they talked about it, so they could create confusion. And while the confusion was going on, they could operate in the background and get all this stuff done. You remember just 3 years ago, they had 2 weeks where they put on this sideshow about whether or not to form a committee to study reparations. Okay, everybody tuned into that. But then 2 weeks later, on a voice vote, the first call, with no debate, they passed an act that they actually had the audacity to name the Gay Reparations Bill. It wasn't much in federal terms, just $58 million, price of maybe a training aircraft for the Air Force. But it was open-ended. It was supposed to be to help out gay folk who had been improperly denied insurance benefits when they got married. So it's open-ended, no telling how expensive it's going to get, but they had the nerve to term it a gay reparations bill past 2 weeks after they spent 2 weeks on a farce, putting on a grandstand display about whether they should come up with a committee. So they've been doing this, and their objective is to destroy traditional manhood. Now, that traditional manhood, and I've tweeted this, something similar, I can't remember right now. Manhood and human nature got us from the cave to the condo. And they want to give it up because they live in a safety bubble that's about to pop. In a few more years, it won't be safe. We've already got these problems with food shortages. We've got these problems with fuel expense. And it ain't going anywhere. We have problems that are going to come up because of drought due to changing weather patterns, rising sea levels that are going to drown out a lot of very valuable real estate. And things are going to get very stressful and tense. And we won't stop fucking, so we are going to have a lot more babies and a lot bigger populations that are going to increase the stress level. And what the hell do you think is going to happen? People are not going to be in a position to be all that touchy-feely, lovey-dovey way. They're going to have to deal with reality again. So it doesn't help anybody out when you wipe out manhood and masculinity. But we've got some problems that loom, and we're going to have to come up with some cures. And men and women work much better when we work together. That's how it was designed, that's how it was meant, and that's what works. Now, we've got people that want to be women, and they want to compete against women in women's sports, or they want to be guys and be guys, but fundamentally a woman is a woman because she can bear young. Men are men fundamentally because they can impregnate. Women are women because they go through the pains and associated changes dealing with the fact that they give birth and they have to nurse, maybe, nurture certainly the children, even if it's only theoretical, and guys have to protect and provide for those children, the next generation. And both sides participate in the healthy raising of children so they don't have the wrong kind of ideation, the wrong kind of aspirations, and they grow up healthy. But you see, when we do stuff about trying to say, oh, we don't want to go through those changes, we don't want to pay those dues, we just want to
land the plane. Land the plane.
Yeah.
Hold on, man. Don't do that, bro. We got an elder in the room, and he's very well respected. So we're gonna be dropping you down. But continue on, Judge Joe Brown.
Who said that?
Conscious outlaw.
Okay.
He out of there, man.
Yeah, go ahead. Unmute everybody's mic. Go ahead, Judge. I'm sorry about that. Judge, are you there?
Okay, all right, here we go. I'm back. Okay, I've had a very interesting life. Sometimes I say maybe I need to convey what I've learned to those who might prosper as some future leaders. Now, I don't give a goddamn who the fuck you think you are. I'll stomp on your feet and say, do something about it. But I try to convey knowledge. And sometimes I say things that don't match somebody's belief system. But personally, I don't believe anything. I have opinions that I might modify if somebody gives me better data, information, analysis, or observations based on experience in life. But we've got a problem. We've got too many damn hashtags, this, that, and the other, where people argue by hashtags like it's supposed to mean something. They've read a synopsis of something that somebody has put something out on, and they think they know something, and they've got some screwed up shit that ranges from aliens coming to set the black man up in the world and taking them to the home planet if they do well, all the way to some crazy ideas about how economy works, to ideas about we need not do anything because nobody will let us. Well, damn that. You don't have to put up with a damn thing because you can always die. And if you don't mind being heroic about it, you can scare the hell out of somebody if you die the right way. So maybe the next son of a bitch will think more about what he's up to before he gets in the way of somebody that looks like you the next go around. So man the hell up is one thing we ought to be doing. Now, with that, I missed out on the conversation earlier, but I am what I am, and I might give you a few clues. And I'm conveying some stuff I learned from other folks.
Hey, but a lot of the topics that we had tonight, like the feminism, Bill Cosby, we even talking about the transgender bill that they passed out there in Oklahoma, the bathroom bill. Some of the stuff that you already been covering. But before I get to that point, Judge, let me give a shout out to, I see Dana from the Real Dana YouTube channel is in the house. Dana, I subscribe to your YouTube channel, and I love your YouTube show. You, Judge Joe Brown, Obi, Chief, the police dude and whatnot. I love your show. I listen to it, so I just want to give you that shout out. If you guys are on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the Real Dana YouTube channel. She's on there with Judge Joe Brown, and they do a great show together. It's almost like a married couple. I love it. I love hitting the back and forth between them. So please support this sister. She has a great YouTube channel. Also, Dana, I follow you. I see you follow me on Twitter. So also, you guys go ahead and support Newstoter. Make sure you guys visit the site daily. We have so much content, black-owned curation site aggregator. We're glad that Judge Joe Brown was able to still stop in and share some knowledge with us tonight. We're going to let you guys ask some questions. Those that want to ask some questions, y'all going to be respectful too as well, because the judge is here. He doesn't have to be here, but he decided to come here, so y'all going to show some respect up in this space, or you're going to get up out of here. Also, you can support Newstoter on Cash App. That's $Newstoter. We are the largest black-owned curator of news in Black America. You can support us through our Cash App, which is $Newstoter. Now, I see we had to get Conscious out of here because this joker was talking out his ass. So, Twizzler, my man, you up. Go ahead and unmute your mic if you want to ask the judge a question.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I want to say what's up to everybody in here. And first and foremost, Judge Joe Brown. How you doing, young man? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling all right for a young man getting kind of old. But you know, I'm still kicking. I can still run a couple of miles without dropping dead.
Yes, indeed. You've been my age, man, so I'm trying to get to yours. Yes, indeed. I just want to say, man, I totally agree with what you're talking about, man, because I was raised by a man of your peers, man, and he always told me growing up, boy, I feel sorry for your generation of men, because your generation of men are a generation of men that's raised by women. Y'all don't know how to be men. Be like, boy, you lucky because you got me. You know, I swear for God, I am the man I am right now to this day because of that, you know? A lot of these young men nowadays don't know how to work with their hands outside of a keyboard or a fucking video game controller. You know, and to me, that's a detriment to their future, because if you can't work with your hands, you don't know how to build. And if you don't know how to build, you're not going to know how to go out there, find, and discover. You know what I'm saying? And it's messed up. So I totally agree with what you're saying. But Judge, I have a bone to pick. And the bone that I have to pick is, a lot of people disagree with me with this, but I'm going to say this. I feel like the 13th Amendment is a detriment in this impeding our progress, for the simple fact it says that only us as black men, that we are 3/4 of a human being. But it's also another little written law in there, and I know you know about this, Judge, that says that when it comes down to us, as we're being 3/4 of human beings, we're still considered property. So when it comes down to disciplining and correcting your property, you can go as far as killing your property. And those laws are still on the books right now to this day, and I feel like that's why these police are getting away with killing us. How do you feel about overturning that?
Let me say this. There is no mention of race in the Constitution of the United States. Not one mention. What it says in Article 1 when it comes to apportionment of representation in the House of Representatives, which is one chamber of Congress, it says the following: every 10 years there shall be a census conducted to determine a proper apportionment of representatives in the House of Representatives. Toward that purpose, 3/5 of all those held in slavery or involuntary servitude shall be counted toward this number. So it doesn't mention us specifically, but that was the way it was. Now, the 13th Amendment says, there shall be no slavery nor involuntary servitude except upon due process is a punishment for a criminal offense. Now, that's nothing new, because throughout the history of ancient Britain, Rome, and the United States, when one is convicted of a crime, and in the United States that requires due process of law, trial by jury, and proof beyond a reasonable doubt, and presumption of innocence, a person cannot be convicted. But if he or she is, then certain citizenship rights are lost or restricted or temporarily reduced. Now, as far as it impacting us, yes, it does. And the current president of the United States, Joe Biden, made a career of making the conditions upon conviction as harsh as he could make them, in John Stennis and a few other ones, and Byrd and such like. But the truth of the matter is for the last 45 years, which is as far back as I went and looked at the stats, 97+% of all people in American penitentiaries pled guilty. Just a little more than 2% were in there after a trial. And out of that 97%, 84 to 87%, depending upon what state you're in, confessed. And when I mean confessed, let's just say this. I was the public defender for the city of Memphis back in the 70s. Was in private practice for a long time as a defense lawyer. I tried 42 first-degree murder cases as a defense lawyer where they were demanding the death penalty, and a bunch more where they didn't. I got the youngest person in the world off on death row off after I got a reversal by the Arkansas Supreme Court unanimously. And it amazed me the stories that were out on the streets and came out through the relatives of the people that I knew had another thing going, and we lawyers, by dint of the attorney-client privilege, we can't tell that our clients are lying to their kinfolk. And let me say what I can talk about. When I was on the bench and we'd take a recess, I'm looking at a real live badass OG gangster in the courtroom. Yay, man, I'm down with the colors, man. You know, it's like this, man. I'm holding firm, man. They trying to put a case on me, man. You know. And then, gentlemen, are you ready to review this tape of the alleged confession? Yes, sir. Well, all right, Madam Court Reporter, can you be set up in the court's chambers in, shall we say, 10 minutes? Yes, sir. All right. Well, we'll stand in recess until we finish this matter. And the rest of you meet the court back in chambers in 10 minutes. Get back there. You're looking at the confession. OG out in the courtroom going for bad is doing this. Listen, man, I just want my mama, man. Let me see my mama. I'll tell you everything, man. Young man, please. You have a right to remain silent. Anything. I know that, man. I don't want to be silent. I just want my mama, man. Sir, here. Wipe your nose. Here's some Kleenex. But you really need to talk to a lawyer. We were strong. I don't want no lawyer. I just want to see my mama. Well, sir, you're 27 years old. You can't see your mother, but you can see an attorney. I just want my mama. Snot running all out this punk's nose. Tears coming out. By the time he gets through, I'm carefully recording. They advised him of his rights 9 times. They snatched the written form from him 4 times and saying, are you sure this is what you want to do? And then they'd always ended up, and I wasn't the only one, man. Stomp and Shaw Daddy and Big Dog, they was there too, man. Why you always let jump on me, man? So you walk out
Judge,
there
Your Honor,
finished up, ladies and
Judge,
gentlemen.
I don't want to interrupt you or be rude or anything, but as me being a young man and being a victim of the system since I was 4 years old, you know, that's kind of serious to me because they took me from the social system. They took me from my mother when I was 4 years old. So that's 1978. They took me again when I was 11 years old. You know what I'm saying? Now, it ain't the hard time, but it's just that this is what we were born into as black people.
Well,
you know, we're a victim of circumstances.
But
I just want I just want to say though, Judge,
I got you.
that 13th Amendment is serious to me, and I would like to overturn that. But go ahead.
Haven't finished with this. You see, first off, every single Western country, the People's Republic of China and Russia, have penalties attendant upon what happens if you get convicted. So all the 13th Amendment does is say there shall be no involuntary servitude except upon due process of law as a punishment for a criminal offense. So I merely came up with the anecdotal thing that says every black person in jail is not victimized by being there. Everyone is not a Robin Hood who robbed from the rich to give to the poor, but usually, almost invariably, the victims of their crimes are their neighbors. Now, I don't care what kind of excuse you got from a background, you have no business robbing, raping, poisoning, killing your neighbors.
Absolutely.
Not without a hellified provocation. Now, that's what I'm saying. We have to take charge of this. And I know some people who were Korean peasants. I know some who were peasants in the Philippines. Hell, my stepmother was Filipino. And I talked to her daddy who was back there with the Moros swinging machetes at U.S. Army troops back before World War I, when the U.S. became a colonial power. I know people who have lived in some cesspools and hellholes that have come out. You know, so yeah, there are hard times, but you see, what is this phrase that this witch Hillary Clinton co-opted? It takes a village to raise a child. Actually, I published some years ago, and some people even posted some posters that came out about what I published. It's a Yoruba saying, and it comes from, "Fear not, O warrior or hunter, if you die in the cause of your people, because your people, your village, will raise your sons to be men as though you were still with them." Now, the village is supposed to take these boys who are in situations like you were and train them up to be men, to put in their heads and souls what manhood is all about and cause them to aspire to these things. But today we don't have that. Now, you were saying in 1978, I had been the public defender for the city of Memphis. And I went into private practice in 1978. So that just gives you a little perspective on that. But way back when, I saw it developing. There was some hell. But you see, we weren't paying any attention to what was going on to young black boys or young Mexican boys or young, Native American boys or even young poor white boys in trailer parks. They were the grist that was causing the newly privatized juvenile court systems to make money. They did not want rehabilitation or redemption. They wanted the child to remain corrupted, because if he did so, he would continue to come back down, which was good for corporate profitability. If he grew to become an adult, he would breed families that would have problems, that would generate corporate income. And that's not a good thing. But that 3/5 clause, there's no way to get around that, but it doesn't say black folk. And it's not 3/4, it's 3/5 of all of those held in involuntary servitude shall be counted toward this number in apportioning representatives in the House of Representatives. Stokely Carmichael, way back when, or H. Rap Brown, too, used to be on the speaking circuit, and they'd say, well, Stokely, I heard him say it. I can't pronounce but 3/5 of this word. And they're the ones that associated it in the mind with black people. See, we have an individual, and I've spoken on this. He was president of the United States. His son was president of the United States. This man's first cousin was the grandfather of a president of the United States. And all 1, 2, 3, 4 of them were cousins with a vice president of the United States. And who am I talking about? Well, let's see. That ought to be easy enough. I'll start with the oldest. His name's George Herbert Walker Bush, President of the United States of America. His first cousin was the grandfather to another President of the United States of America, Barack Obama. George Herbert Walker Bush's son, George Walker Bush, was President of the United States of America. And 1, 2, 3 of them.
You still there, Jay? You still there?
I just got put, somehow or another, I got put on mute, though the phone is sitting on the countertop. The person I'm talking about that did all these things is an interesting person. His name is Sam Hinckley. Sam Hinckley was one of those people who was counted as 3/5 of a person under Article 1 of the Constitution towards determining representation in the House of Representatives. He was from Cape Cod. And this dude had some strong sperm. He can claim 7 U.S. presidents and 1 vice president is his direct lineal descendants. But he was counted in that 3/5 number. Now, granted, he was white boy, but he was from France. He was a Huguenot. And he sold himself into indentured servitude for 25 years so he could get brought to America. Now, in that day and time, 25 years plus 21 years would add up to 46 years old. And at the time, the life expectancy of somebody in America wasn't but 17 years old. So the likelihood of him remaining in involuntary servitude or voluntary servitude for the totality of his life was strong. But he had 7 U.S. presidents who were descended from him. His name is Sam Hinckley. So that's an anecdote to run down what can happen when you deal with the whole big picture. But whenever I put somebody in jail, I was either erasing, restricting, or taking away some of that person's rights. And I was making, to an extent, a slave of them because they were no longer in total charge of what happened to them on a day-to-day basis like other citizens, but they had their right to control what happened to them diminished and reduced because on due process of law they had been convicted of a criminal offense, or as I said, 9 or 97 out of every 100 pled guilty. Only about 2 out of every 100 that I had the sentence got convicted by a jury. Now, that's the national average. But what I did do is I took advantage of the opportunity to coerce people into attending my man counseling sessions. And I taught a manhood, so I reduced statewide recidivism rate from 80%. That means if you're convicted of a felony, you'll be back 80% of the time, down to 18% over a 10-year period. And that's what manhood can do. So if you had a fucked up background, a fucked up situation, you can change it. It may be harder, but the harder you have to work at something, the better you are at it. That's like if you really want to be a prime athlete, you really got to train hard and work out hard. But you got to work at a lot of other things besides being able to put a basketball through a hoop, or run a football, or block and tackle, or hit a baseball, or throw a baseball, or anything else. So it's hard work. And a lot of times life is not fair. If you ever get to Chicago, you want to be into something different, go to the Chicago Field Museum. They have 2 stuffed lions in there. One's called the Ghost, and the other one's called the Darkness. The interesting thing about those 2 lions, aside from the fact that they say they're only 2/3 as large as they actually were because the hide shrank before they were stuffed, but those 2 lions between them, and around 1910, 1911, over in East Africa, captured and ate more than 120, 125 humans. They killed them and ate them. So that wasn't fair to the people that got eaten. It wasn't fair to all the humans that came before that made something's midnight snack, breakfast, lunch, or dinner meal. We eat hamburgers or fried chicken or roast chicken or whatever in the hell. It ain't fair to the animal we're eating, but shit don't have to be fair. We like to make it that way, but the world ain't fair. It doesn't give a damn. So if you get dealt a raw deal, somebody might help you. Maybe somebody won't. but you still have the option of working extra hard and getting ahead and not being stuck where life left you. Now, that's the way of the world. It just works like that.
All right, Judge. We're gonna go on to the our next person is Mark. Mark, we
hold on 1 second.
Wait, hold on, DJ. Hold on.
Okay.
Mark, ask the judge something about feminism, Bill Cosby, or the transgender, anything about transgenders right now. That we're trying to stick on subject as much as possible.
Hey, Tom, let me jump in. Just give me 2 seconds.
Go ahead, Ray.
I'm getting ready to get off because I have to go to bed for the night. I got to get up super early. But cuz I just wanted to say goodnight. I want to say goodnight to the whole room. And cuz again, I want to give you flowers while you're still alive and can smell them. We want to thank you for coming in here, always dropping knowledge. You don't have to do it. And I just want to let you know that we really appreciate you.
Well, thank you, cuz. I appreciate it.
All right, Ray, I appreciate you co-hosting and stopping in as always and supporting the content and the platform, man. So the next Twitter space will be Monday. So I know you'll probably, if you have a chance, you'll be there. So you have a good one.
All right. Good night, fam. I'll talk to y'all later.
Good night, Ray.
Yeah, later on, cuz.
All right, Ray.
DJ, you had something you wanted to chime in on?
I was just saying, let Ray talk to say goodnight to cuz real quick and Judge Joe,
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, Mark, you next. So, just ask the judge something about feminism, Bill Cosby, or anything dealing with transgenders, whether that's sports or any of the transgender bills that they have passed right now.
Okay, well, hey, how you doing, Judge? This definitely ties in.
All right, sir.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, it all ties in together. Where did you first hear the phrase black first? And then, far as, what do it mean to you? Because that's what kind of base off all this together.
When did I hear the phrase black?
Black first. Black first.
Okay, Mark, hold on 1 second, Judge. Mark, what does that have to do with the title right now?
Because it's going to tie into the whole thing as far as of Black America. I'm just asking.
So it has something. Well, hold on, Judge. It has something to do with feminism, Bill Cosby, or transgenders.
Yeah, transgender. Yeah, definitely. Because that's why I'm asking where you hear the phrase "black first" at. I mean, because I know he's qualified to answer that for us.
Okay, well, we hopefully it's going to tie.
It's not a long thing. Black first was kind of an adjunct to Black Power. I'm black and I'm proud. James Brown didn't invent that. He took off on a trend that was developing. So the concepts you're talking about developed from this one. First off, we need to be interested in ourselves before we're interested in anybody else. That was a counter to this imagery that was prevailing in the mid-'60s, early 60s, and for the period before that, where what was seen on the Hollywood productions was black folk were always serving white folk and always sacrificing even to the point of dying so somebody white could prosper. And we took that black first thing. We didn't make a big deal about it. We just said, hey, man, we ain't got no time to be worried about anybody else. We need to start worrying about us. But yet, when you tie it into what you're talking about, that other thing, some people, including our so-called leadership these days, thinks that we don't need to think of self first, not black first. We need to start thinking about all these other folk who want to piggyback on what we've done, what we suffered, what we have put up with, and prosper. So we can have interest. Will say we're just like black folk. No, you're not. Because guess what? If you didn't tell anybody what you were, you could dress up like normal folk and nobody know what the hell you were if you just practiced talking like ordinary folk, walking like ordinary folk, and not turn around to look at men's asses. doesn't equate. That's what I would take black first to mean. And the first time that came up, I can't remember exactly what it would be in the mid-'60s, somewhere around 1966 and 1967, when we started calling each other black rather than Negro. If that answers your question.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Miracle, I believe. You and then Kimberly.
Oh, yes, sir. And before I ask my question, I just want to say, Mr. Brown, Judge Joe Brown, it's an honor to be in the same room with you. I always admired your career over the years, and I'm really proud of you. And I wish you more success. And getting to the question, I was in a Twitter space earlier where it was this African American brother, and he claimed that he was a Black Panther. So, sticking on the topic, this other guy asked him a question like, "Oh, do you protect transgender individuals and things like that?" And the guy said yes, because some of my family members are transgender, and I'm not going to just do that because of their orientation and stuff like that. And so the other guy said, "Well, you're not a real Black Panther because real Black Panthers ain't going to protect, transgender individuals and gay people." And it was a whole discussion. But what do you feel about that as a Black Panther protecting whoever you want to protect in the community? What do you feel about that, sir?
Well, when the Black Panther is the original version based on the Deacons for Defense and Justice down in Louds County and using the same emblem, which, by the way, came from the 761st Armored Regiment known as Patton's Panthers in World War II. Little history lesson there. Nobody was talking about being gay or transgender, except some people that everybody kind of looked on like, who the hell are these dudes, talking this? And then every community from day one had the equivalent of Peaches or something like that, where they'd dance on women's night out at the clubs, and they'd put on women's dresses and stuff like that. And there was a distinction made between them and gay folk. Gay folk, like, we didn't always associate gay folk necessarily with being feminine, because we knew, for example, that people like Alexander the Great, one of history's true badasses, or Julius Caesar, another badass in reality, they were acknowledged homosexuals. They used to say of Caesar, no man's wife is safe when Caesar's around, but Caesar will play wife to any man. He was a freak. But this new thing where being gay got associated with a different lifestyle, an effeminate one, just wasn't around. And this thing about transvestitism, we called it, that was like, okay, there's a bunch of freaks that like to put on shows and dress up in girls' clothes and go do crazy stuff on ladies' night out at a club. It was just sort of like, we looked at it like, I guess, if somebody had a particularly well-trained monkey dancing on the end of a silver chain and there was an old-time organ grinder like used to be at the county fair or something. That's about the way we looked at it. It just was, we would have termed it freak of the week. In other words, you didn't see it. Nowadays, I think it's gotten out of hand, and I think it's really unfair to the ladies because they fought so hard to have athletic contests. Their driving engine 40 years ago was it's not fair. is to be able to play sports and get these athletic scholarships to all of these prestigious universities. Girls ought to be able to get these things, so they started doing it. Nowadays, it's like, okay, girls need to have the opportunity to exercise the rights to get these scholarships for girls' sports. Now you got 50 women out there, but 23 of them got dicks and bouncing balls. At least they claim to be women. That doesn't seem too right. And with this thing they put in with the Emmett Till bill about introducing sexual orientation to the mix, that means that, let's say, it's an office job, and the women ought to have half of them since they represent half the population. And there are 100 people that are employed in this office, and 50 of them claim to be women. That's 50-50. But 24 of them got balls and dicks. So something's wrong there. The women are getting cheated. This doesn't seem fair.
All right, Miracle, is there anything else you want to add? Or
Well, I just want to say this is just a wonderful experience to me, and a lot of people don't know what Mr. Brown was saying. He definitely answered my question, but a lot of people don't know. And when it comes to world history, sororities and fraternities were made for gay people to be safe places back, in the Rome days. That's why when America got built, that's why you always see, the Greek symbols and the Greek statues. But that's why they couldn't say nothing back in the day, because that's what it was originally built for.
No,
that's what I heard, but
that's not what it is. My old man got made in a frat at Howard University in 1947, the same year I was born. I got made in 1966. I talked to Thurgood Marshall. I talked to the King family. I talked to a lot of the old brothers. I even met Hubert Humphrey, who, by the way, trumped the AKAs on having the first vice president who was a member of the Black Greek organization. White boy Hubert Humphrey was vice president under Lyndon Baines Johnson and was candidate unsuccessfully against Tricky Dick in 1968. But what the black fraternities and sororities arose to do was to become revolutionary organizations so that you could oppose American apartheid or segregation, and you were pledged hard and brutally because they wanted to test you to see if you would confess if Sheriff Billy Bob captured you. A prime example is what happened when Emmett Till got killed. Two black fraternity members, A.W. Willis, a lawyer, and Russell Sugarman, a lawyer, from Memphis, were given the call, along with an old guy we called affectionately Old Man Withers, who was a photographer that now has a permanent exhibit in the Smithsonian. They got a call down there, and Withers took 6 rolls of film and did not develop them of Till's body. He gave 3 of them to Willis and 3 of them to Sugarman, and they went their separate ways, escorted by individuals so they could get out of Mississippi. Several cars got shot up and burnt, and quite a few people got wounded. Willis got captured by the sheriff in the White Citizens Council, and they tortured him for 11 or 12 hours. But he managed to escape, but he didn't say a damn thing, and he told me to my face, he said, the reason I didn't is because of the way I got pledged, so the sheriff wasn't doing anything to me that I did not get done to me when I pledged out for it. Now, we do have some gay folk in these fraternities. It was inescapable because when the first wave got in, nobody was asking. It was assumed you weren't. There were some people that acted a little effeminate, but if you were willing to put up with and do and deliver on the masculine scale of things, okay, he just needs to get some more bass in his voice. But no, we didn't arise to give vent to gays getting in there. That's never the case. It's just that there was the equivalent of what used to be the case in the military: don't ask, don't tell. Nobody asked and nobody claimed. Though sometimes some did surface and they were usually ostracized. But no, that's not the way things went down. By the way, I'm an alpha.
Okay, sir. Thank you for correcting me on that, and thank you for your educational knowledge.
Now, let me say this. If you want to get your, I don't care what anybody does to get their freak on in the bedroom. That's everybody's business. That's your privacy right. The problem comes in is when an organization, LGBTQ, based on that particular entry-level qualification of your sexual practices, becomes a force to be reckoned with on the political, social, and economic field. Then it's subject to pushback like any other political entity, whether it is Democrat, Republican, or whatever. And when you start impacting what happens to children and other things, then the pushback can be stronger, and that's what's to be expected. A lot of folk who are gay that I'm aware of, from having been out in Hollywood for 15 years, look at LGBTQ as a cult. And as I said much earlier, just because you are Islamic does not mean you are a follower of Al-Qaeda or ISIS. Just because you are gay doesn't mean you are a follower of LGBTQ, because a lot of them resent the affiliation of LGBTQ with pedophilia, which is something that a lot of them hate because that's how they got launched on the journey that took them to where they have all kinds of problems that they wish they did not have. So with that caveat, all right, I think next question.
Yes, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. Your mama, you want to go up? Kimberly, did you have your hand up or?
I did. I actually wanted to see if I could get in here and pay my most due respects to Judge Joe Brown and give him the most honor, and see if I could get a question in, if it's okay.
Okay, you go up next, and then your mama, you're next.
Okay. Judge Joe Brown, I'm a law student and I co-chair with attorneys on often a lot of complaints, and I'm a protector and a defender. I came up in the 60s. I seen the hurt and oppressions of the depression and oppression in the 60s, and I'm older now and wiser now, and I'm having some problems with a couple of things. First, I want to start this off on a foundation of opposition, and if I was filing an opposition towards any claim that was submitted in court. My opposition that I'm filing today is against the feminist movement in its entirety. And the reason why I'm filing this opposition is because it goes against the order of God. Now, I'm talking to you from an elder perspective. And, please, everyone else, just forgive me if I go into an area that you're not familiar with. But Judge Joe Brown is. So, from the order of creation where God created man and then he created woman. And as long as I can remember in the 60s, this feminist stuff wasn't prevalent to me at all. But I understand now that the feminist organization under the Constitution has now developed a certain type of equality that they're looking for, that has now gave them a foothold to be able to have a wicked influence and present in books and schools and education and marriage, and just all against the normal design of life. And my opposition today claims this, Judge Joe Brown, is the face that I see. I don't see an opportunity from within the law that I could oppose anything against the organization. However, I am concerned that I may have problems when it comes down to state and religions come together, since my opposition is from the creation of God and is from a biblical standpoint. I do see that I will have an opposition or a problem in coming from that perspective. How can I encourage a right as an individual and human rights and normal rights and family rights to stand firm on the creation of God, even if our Constitution will allow the feminist movement to be in the institution and still give us a chance to have a voice and rise against it and create noble men and noble women? I would like to hear from you, Judge.
Well, remember, the Constitution basically mandates a separation of church and state, which the LGBTQ cult is trying to abrogate. But what you want is essentially equality of treatment. Now, you have to have a specific cause, a specifically demonstrable harm that you suffered. If you can demonstrate that, if you can afford the lawsuit, or if you can convince some hotshot young lawyer who wants to make a name for himself and become a big-time lawyer, then maybe there are grounds to get into somebody's court. I wish you luck, because thanks to, well, what happened back in 1980 when Reagan got elected, discrimination, Title VII, and other things has become extremely difficult to prosecute. But good luck if you can.
All right. Thank you, Judge.
Actually, Jackass Biden in chief and the White House has a lot to do with it. He and Stennis added a lot of procedural provisions to the law that make it very difficult to pursue things in court without a great deal of money. And frankly, American courts have become very much overpriced and too filled with red tape, and they have failed to carry out their designed intentions, which were to eliminate interpersonal conflict and violence by encouraging civil settlements in court or civil litigation in court. Most people can't afford a lawyer or a court now, so we have had a ramp up of city, inner city, and interpersonal violence because there's no avenue for redress these days. To an extent, these court TV things, of which I was a big part for 15 years, they do satisfy that need, but maybe what we need is municipalities to come up with some arbitration panels where the parties sign contracts and agree to be bound by them, and that would operate under the American Arbitration Act of 1928, so that they would be binding resolutions. And lawyers, let's say, would be banned from practicing in these courts, and maybe you'd have experienced arbitrators who'd be paid for by the municipality or the county or whatever, and we could get a little bit of dispute resolution going so people wouldn't be so violent with each other. Maybe reduce it just a little bit. But, good luck.
Thank you, Kimberly, for that question. We're going to be wrapping it up soon. So anybody, we got your mama, and if anybody else wants to go, raise your hand, because we're going to be wrapping it up soon. So I'm going to go ahead, your mama, and let you ask the question. But like I said, if anybody else, maybe take one more, two questions, and that's going to be it for tonight, because I know the judge has had a long day. So I'm glad and grateful that he came in. And if you guys have not, make sure you following Newstoter on Twitter. Make sure you're following us. Also, make sure you follow us on YouTube as well. We got our YouTube channel up and running. We need some more subscribers on there as well. And also, you can support Newstoter for just $1 a month on our Cash App. That's $Newstoter. Once again, that's $Newstoter. So if you have $1 to spare, go ahead and throw it to Newstoter. Just $Newstoter. Your mama, go ahead and unmute your mic.
Thank you, Newstoter, for allowing me to speak. And good evening, family. I just wanted to say real quickly, I had a question for Judge Joe Brown. First of all, I'd just like to say, Judge, that I miss you on TV telling these young men to man up. I remember the first time I heard you saying that, and it just kind of spoke to my heart because it's just, well, it needed to be said, and it really needs to be said nowadays. But my question is, I remember I'm 70 years old, so I remember when
You're a young woman.
Well,
to me anyway, since I'm older than you. Go ahead.
Well, I was listening to what you said, and I apologize if you covered this already, but I remember when those white women were bringing that feminism to the fore, and back in the late 60s and in the 70s. And it seemed to me like they were mad because they were having little boys, and they wanted everybody to be a little girl. And it looks like to me that they've kind of gotten that with that transgender crap. Because as I growing up, I remember there was always a gay boy or two or a gay girl or two in the school, and everybody knew, and nobody cared, and they did their thing, and we did our thing, and that was the end of it. But now it seems like every time you turn around, somebody's crying about they being discriminated against because they're transgender. And I just can't see where all these transgender people came from. What do you think?
Well, okay, if you're a man, that means if the Titanic is sinking, you have to have it in you to get up and say, ma'am, you and your child take my seat. Women and children in life go first, and I am willing to drown so you can live. That takes a lot of doing, and that is a difficult position. A lot of people wanted to escape that. But you know what
I'm sorry, Judge. Hey, your mama, mute your mic. But go ahead, Judge. Go ahead. You there, Judge?
Judge, are you there? Give him
what
a second.
happened is you put me on mute when you do that automatically.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Let me say this. What I think is one of the problems, main flaws with feminism is it's based on hate, and anytime you base what you do on hatred, it won't prosper, or at least not for long. That said, I think that context should be given just briefly. About the late 60s on the college campuses, these feminists were all excited about the prospect of being able to eventually clone humans. And they were happy that that would take men out of the equation because they said marriage is a form of slavery for women. And women should resist these male chauvinist beasts who want to enslave them in marriage. So a lot of people were going around on college campuses in the 60s saying that women should get pregnant after picking some tall, handsome, smart, athletic guy and then not telling the SOB he was a dad because having a father around was the worst thing for a kid. Of course, that's actual poison, but that's what they felt about it. And that's the way they acted. And commensurate with that, you had this welfare state that was developing, And I can remember 50-some years ago when I first started practicing law, one of the number one cases at this poverty law center was getting the check cut back on after some social worker had it cut off because maybe the woman had 7 baby daddies and 9 or 10 children. Well, if 1 or 2 of the dads were coming by trying to be father to their children or all of the children, then that was looked at as improper and the check got cut off. But there were a number of things that all contributed to this poisonous mix that we're dealing with right now. So yeah, you're right, man. You're old enough to have seen it, but I was old enough to be able to buy whiskey and vote and be part of the mess that was going on, even though I wasn't trying to do that. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
All right, Black MacGyver, because I didn't know you had your hand up, so we're going to let you get this question in because I didn't see you with your hand up. But go ahead and make it a quick question.
Okay, yeah, I want to say thank you to the chat room. Thank you, Judge, and thank you, host. Judge, we're just hearing you talk with your experience. I'm young, kind of the 80s baby, so it seemed like everything is more with this system is time and process. So you and the lady conversation, like where did all this trans stuff transpire? It seemed like based on your answer, like almost they did like in a period of a time, like maybe tapped in like hormonal and genetic, trying to modify us like humans. You get if that makes sense? Like
I know exactly like what you're saying. Yeah, go ahead.
So it seemed like just listening and understanding now, because I follow history a lot, and it's something about it that is you just gotta follow it, because based on the time you are born and then become existent until you not existing no longer. It's like we playing against a game, but the game is the Constitution. Because it's like when you say 3/4 person,
3/5,
3/5 person, and how you say it, like they never mention race, because it doesn't mention race. It's like when you get in the jam, based on your experience and how you break it down to majority of the people basically tell on themselves. It's like whether you right or wrong, always go with not guilty, because you're not compromising yourself. Does that sound right?
That sounds right, and I will say this. The key phrase is, I have a right to remain silent.
Correct.
I wish to confer with a lawyer. If you get arrested and it isn't past the basics, shut your mouth and exercise your right to a lawyer.
See, Judge, I think like the disconnect with like your generation and like a modern generation, it's like transparency isn't there. It's like life is almost it operates off like leverage of each other. Like if you don't ask, don't tell type of mindset. But ain't nobody pure at heart. It's like the more modern you are, the more pure you want to know things, and then that one side of a people is up against a structured system where we don't even know where this transpired. I kind of think it kind of transpired with sharecropping, because I still am blessed to talk to my grandmother, which is my dad's mom, and she's 94 years old. And to see her mindset on, her experience as life, it's like how did a group subject themselves of thinking that they come from slavery? If that makes sense as well.
I know what you're saying. It's a mindset. I had a grandfather. He was born in 1852. And he and one of his brothers, one of my uncles, murdered 2 deputy sheriffs in the South because They felt that deputy sheriff had something to do with lynching another one of their brothers. Both of them had to flee the state. And my old man, well, my grandfather on my mother's side, he wound up in Tennessee. He had a long, prosperous career. He made it past 100. And I had a great-grandmother we call Mama Cherry. She was a Choctaw Indian, and I will publish this. I got registered as one when I was 2, and then again at 4 years old by grandmother and mother down here in Mississippi one time. That was way back when. But she used to say, "You colored folk amaze me. You get mad and you're always whining and complaining. But my people, when we got mad, we nailed a scalp to the lodgepole." And black folk have had some bad things that get put in their heads when you see the wrong kind of mindset. And I know many of those old folk you're talking about who, well, some few still with us and some have gone. And they had that mindset where they thought the wrong way, and they thought what was happening to them was ordinary, normal, and they had reached all kinds of ways of accommodating that, which is a pretty horrible situation to be in when you don't see a difference. Now, I guess I'm fortunate because I'll be candid about it. My mom and dad, my grandparents all fucked the right people and got knocked up by the right people who had the right mindset to establish a family culture that produces somebody like me. Well, even as an old man, I say, I don't give a goddamn fuck. Fuck all this other shit. I ain't going for it. I got raised over and over again with this in my head. You're as good as any other son of a bitch walking around on this planet Earth. So don't you feel inferior to shit. White folk ain't shit. You're better than they are. And I guess that attitude got me in a lot of trouble. But one of the problems we have as a people is a culture that when we follow it puts the wrong kinds of things in our heads, and we have to go through the additional hardship and struggle of getting it out of our heads and getting the right thing in it.
So it's almost to the such as that we fighting against our own people because half of us got a certain mindset that goes back probably 4 generations of confusion.
5, 6, 7. I know people represented back in the early 70s where right now there's 5, sometimes 6 generations of them in the family that have been added on since I represented the great grandmama who's still alive.
So it's almost to the point to where, I mean, it's right in front of our faces. It's up to us to just stop. Okay. And build our own stuff in the establishment with all the experience we got by now, and being blessed to have, somebody like you to give us real game.
Okay, let me give you this. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. By the time I was out of junior high school and high school, I'd seen 12, 13 people killed within, I'd say 10, 15 yards of where I was standing when they got the mortal blow or the gunshot or whatever. I was in the 9th grade, and I remember coming to school one morning, and a guy that had just moved on to the 10th grade was hanging by his neck, dead from the flagpole about 10, 15 feet up. Somebody had cut his belly open and his guts were hanging down, pooled on the ground. Now, that's some shit to be walking into when you're in the 9th grade, And it wasn't the only time. This was in Los Angeles, and I know that you had to get your posse together and you made plans on what gate you were going to exit after school and what your route home was going to be, so you didn't run into too many people that were enemies. And I know even before that, when I was in junior high, we'd go stop at the elementary playground, and I always kept a handful of these big, heavy rubber bands, and I'd go in there and swipe 3 or 4 of these carom sticks. It's kind of a board game like pool or something. And I'd tape some of them together, and I'd use it as a weapon to beat the shit out of somebody that was in some posse that was trying to mess with me and my crew. But we weren't in gangs. See, you didn't get in a gang if you had a dad. And everybody that we knew that was in a gang was one of those folk where mom had 12, 13 kids, and there was no daddy. And the biggest snot-nosed crybabies in elementary school in the 5th and 6th grade became badasses in the 7th grade when they posseed up with a gang. In those days in Los Angeles, we had the Slaussons, Dale Vikings, Businessmen, Bobtown, De La Soul, etc. And they were killing each other, mostly by knife or baseball bat or that kind of thing, sometimes by gunfire, but folk died. Interestingly enough, when we had the uprising in South Central in August 1965, something happened. I remember 2 weeks before it started, my girlfriend at the time lived about a mile from where the thing started in South Central. And her mama asked me to go to the grocery store for her because my girlfriend was running an errand. So I go to the grocery store, and there's this dude standing on the corner. Hey, man, where you from? And I'm from Bobtown. Well, you cool? Where you from, man? De La Soul. Where you from? Bobtown. You cool, man? Where you from? Dale Viking. Make your run, fool. Bam, bam, bam. He fired 3 caps at it. Turns around, points at Mr. Man. Hey, I ain't from nowhere. So, man, you all right. Now, 3 weeks after the riot went down, which we called the uprising, and we ran LAPD out of there, and we burnt down all of the slum landlord stuff and all the folks that were mistreating us and protecting the ones that gave everybody a square deal. I ran into this dude again because I was doing another errand for my girlfriend's mom, and I was at the corner store, and I'm coming back, and this dude's standing out there. And the same dude he popped 3 caps was walking by, and he said, "Hey, man." The dude said, "Hey, man, what you want, man?" He said, "I want to apologize, man, for popping them caps on you last month." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Man, I didn't know better, man. Burn, baby, burn." And that was the saying. He said, "Well, burn, baby, burn." That was from Roscoe. He was a DJ. He'd say 3 more bars for, so-and-so street. 92nd Street, 3 more bars of the music. And burn, baby, burn. So they shook hands. And for 18 months, there weren't but 2 black-on-black homicides in what became South Central LA. And one of them was when somebody shot their husband, and the other one shot their boyfriend, and those were the only 2 black-on-black homicides. There were no rapes. The assaults dropped to 0. The burglaries dropped to 0. The robberies dropped to 0. There was no crime in South Central LA. And they didn't even call it that then. Now, the next year, there was some bullshit picked up, but the gangs disappeared. And it was back 1969, 70 when the gang started again. And I know that because I was a playground director at Trinity Avenue Elementary School with the late Dr. Clifford Stewart, grand martial artist, the late Dr. Ron Chappelle, martial artist, Joe Brown, etc. And we ran that playground, and we had 2 students on the playground you might have heard of. One, when I met him, he was a little skinny 12-year-old kid, Barry White, the singer, the late singer. And the other one was Tookie Williams that we had as a volunteer assistant. He became the person that was co-founder of the Crips and the last person executed on California's death row. We tried to get him out of the area, the swamp, but his mama wanted to check. She wouldn't let him go. So he just became the baddest ass alligator in the swamp. But we taught him a lot, and he wrote 6 children's books, got Pulitzer Prizes for the damn thing, and the punk-ass governor of California should have commuted his sentence to life. He was the last person.
Every time I hear you talk, I got one more question, Judge, because it seemed like with the gangs, that kind of get to you at life when you were adolescent. But what's the difference from a gang than the same thing as a fraternity and a sorority?
The difference is this. This is interesting. Don't ask me how I came about doing this, but for the last 2 years I was a judge, I built up 10 years or so worth of leave I hadn't taken. So I was doing the Hollywood thing on alternate weeks, a few days, and just taking leave time. So I had some made men in from the mafia. Don't ask me how I managed that. And they would, in these closed sessions where the door's locked, I ain't got on a robe, a tie, anything, we just being basic talking. They would talk to the people. And they would explain some things about the difference between what they did in black gangs. He said, look, y'all talking about black mafia. Bullshit. The difference between what we're doing and what you do is this. When old lady got a pension to collect because her husband dead, we make sure she get her check. We don't try to take it from her. If a girl get raped, we kill the motherfucker. When we catch it. Ain't nobody get robbed without our permissions, and nobody get robbed where we live. Don't nobody sell no poisons where we live. Don't nobody make hoes out of the girls that lives where we live. You fuck up your own place. That's the difference. See, when you got an organization, you making money, you may kill each other, but you don't fuck with the civilians. They support you because you serve a function for them. You the government that they don't have. And you just fuck up where you live. You see, and that's the difference. A fraternity or a sorority is trying to better the people. It is trying to make things wholesome for the community, to make where they live a better, safer, more secure place filled with economic prosperity, knowledge, and sense of purpose, ethics, and morality. When you got a street gang of the type we have, their victims are the people that live around them. They extort, they rob, they steal, they burglarize, they rape, they sell poison to their neighbors. Now, granted, that mob, the other mob, they have a protection racket. But that's usually to somebody's running a business so somebody else doesn't rip them off. They protect them from zoning variance debilities. They protect them from getting overtaxed. They protect them from some fool robbing them. They act as a bodyguard, a guard for the service. That's like old-time feudalism. You paid somebody, the Lord, on whose lands you lived. You gave him a certain percentage of your crop so somebody didn't come in and take all of it. You paid protection so nobody comes in and robs you. Nobody burglarizes you. Nobody comes in and fucks up your business by creating or starting a fight up in there. They used to send me cases all the time, and there's a certain place you could go, the restaurants in Brooklyn, run down, seedy area, but nobody locks their cars, and the little old ladies wear ankle-length fur coats and real blings, and nobody dares to mess with them. And I'd say, hey, you sent me a case, didn't you? That guy, hey, boys, I told you the judge understand that he'd be sensing some business. So I asked him why you sent it to me. Well, you do what we do. You talk about manhood. It's so important to be a man. And you resolve these disputes peacefully. We resolve them sometimes the sidewalk. look messed up. We don't want the children seeing all that go on the sidewalk. Capiche? Yeah, I get it. All right. But you see, that's the difference. One is an alternative source of government, and yeah, they can be brutal with each other, but they have the concept of civilians who are off limits. The women are protected. The girls are promoted into being ladies. The old folk get treated with respect, and people have folk to turn to when they have a dispute. Sitting at this particular restaurant, freaked out some Hollywood types I took. Hey, Louis, come. What is this about this excessive violence where they cut the man's face up for so little provocation? Boss, you know, was a straight razor. So you're saying you're going to have character lines but no permanent disfigurement? Yeah, boss. Well, but we still bring the youth in. We must have discussions with them about these excessiveness. You can't have this. See, in other words, they're promoting order where they live, even if it doesn't look like that to somebody outside.
So it must all come with unionship, Judge. Because my question I wanted to ask, because I haven't heard.
Hey, Black, we gonna get ready to wrap it up. Because I know the judge has been up late.
Well, let me hear his question if you don't mind.
Because when it comes to sororities and fraternities, it seems like most of our politicians come through that little chamber of lifestyle. So when I say unionship, everybody that see this guy breaking laws and they sitting amongst them because they might have to work alongside of them by being in Congress or the Senate or whatever. How come ain't nobody filing charges against him on the wrong things that he's doing towards humanity?
Well, see, it's like this. It ain't the same as it used to be. If you heard me talk about it a little while earlier, I talked about how brutal pledging used to be because the objective was to weed out those folk who might talk if the local sheriff down in Mississippi, Georgia, Alabama, etc., grabbed them and tried to torture them to tell what was going on. When we got away from that, which was in the early 70s, late 60s, depending upon where you are, and it all became, we are so nice, we just read people in, it all went to shit. Because it became a social club rather than an organization or organizations, the four classic black frats and four sororities. It became something other than groups of black folk dedicated to getting free. And it became a social club. And we got people in there that would have been weeded out in past decades.
Right. Judge, we definitely appreciate you coming through again tonight. I know you still doing your barbecue thing, and you still have your sauces that you have out there. I meant to tell you to give us a link so we can post it in the Jumbotron,
okay.
So everybody.
We'll do that. I will get you that. Let me say it. These days, I'm into service, which is what I'm doing tonight, and sauce. So in 2023, I'm running for mayor of Memphis, Tennessee. So the slogan is JJB in 2023 for mayor of Memphis, Tennessee. Send Brown downtown, and some crooks are going down. And when it comes to the other one, it's Judge Joe Brown Barbecue. Judge Joe Brown, JJB, Barbecue, BBQ. So that's JJBBBQ.com. Go there and order yourself some. It's the best stuff you've ever had. It's good on French fries, all kinds of meat, fish, and other stuff. We even have chicken links that are raw, smoked, hot, and mild. We've got hot and mild sauce, and by the way, the sauce is good. It's a substitute for a Bloody Mary. Put some vodka in it, ice, a little water, and add a sprig of celery, and you got what I call the Mary Q, which is a good substitute for Bloody Mary. And we've got some other products coming along, some cookers and other things. And if you live in Los Angeles, journey down to 79th and Western in the hood to D's Original Takeout Grill, and you can get the real deal already made up in the queue, and the stuff is downright delicious. And D is Chef Damon, who is chef to a lot of the stars from Beyonce all the way to Denzel. and he was into engineering, decided he wanted to exercise his culinary skills, so he does barbecue now. So it's great stuff. That's D's Original Takeout Grill, 79th and Western, and I used to live in walking distance of that place when I was growing up. Now, that said, JJB in 2023 for mayor of Memphis, Tennessee, and JJBBBQ.com if you want some. You be the judge of the stuff. I think you'll find it great.
Now, oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, you now are you living in Memphis or are you in California?
I'm in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
I gave up my California residency and severed all ties because with California taxation and IRS, hell, I'm in my 70s, retired, but damn, I was at 54% rate of taxation. That's ruinous. That's ridiculous. And by the way, I appreciate California talking about reparations, but they're too damn broke to afford it. They are so broke that their civil courts are only financed to be open 3 days out of the week, but they're open 4 because the judges generously donate a quarter of their salaries back to keep the courts open for the 4th day in the week. They're open Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. They would have been open Monday and then be closed until Thursday and then deal with Friday. That's how broke they are. They can't increase taxes due to their Prop 13. So where they get the money, I don't know. Technically, I guess I'd qualify if I started paying taxes there again and exercise some business activity other than having an office there that doesn't generate any more business there. But anyway, I said that 5 times. Hell with it anyway. Damn, I hate that. That's like stuttering or saying, whatever.
Well, we definitely appreciate you coming through and dropping knowledge with us again, and you got to do it again. I actually want to talk to you off, not on the actual Twitter space, about trying to help maybe Jackson, Mississippi, and the crisis they have going on down there, and see how we can maybe organize and get them some national attention down there with that water crisis. But that's another story for another time, and like I said, I'm just glad that we could get you in the Twitter space. Everybody definitely loves having you in here dropping knowledge and whatnot. And like he says, make sure you guys go to the website. That's jjbbq.com. That is, Judge?
jjbbq.com. Order yourself some. I would suggest the 3-pack. The shipping is cheapest with that. Or you can order a whole pallet. Once you taste it, you'll be hooked. And it'll be on the shelves at major markets in a month or 2. And by the way, check out The Real Dana. You can look her up on YouTube or Google her rather and sign in. She's got some very interesting guests. She comes at it in a different way. And somebody said it earlier. We act like we're married, and yeah, that's true. And Dana, keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anybody. We don't want to cut off our outside plate. But anyhow,
that was me. I said it earlier. Like I told her, like I'm already subscribed to the channel. I've been watching her for a while. So I actually, Obi, the police officer chief, I can't think his name. Like I enjoyed watching it. Yeah, it's definitely a good YouTube channel. And also, like you say, support Black-owned business. So could you also tell everybody in the Twitter space to support Newstoter, a Black-owned media outlet, just through our Cash App? Tell everybody, let them know, Judge, that in order for the Black media to actually grow, we need somebody to try to, just contribute to our Cash App. If it's just $1 to Newstoter, that's $ Newstoter, that'll help the Black media grow.
Okay. Don't try this at home. This is done by trained professionals. This is Judge Joe Brown. You know me. And I really want to urge upon you the proposition that you ought to support Newstoter, the largest Black-oriented news distribution outlet there is. We would appreciate your contributions through their Cash App, Newstoter. This is Judge Joe saying this is the way to go.
Now that's a great promo there. $ Newstoter to everybody in the Twitter space that can afford it. That's $ Newstoter. And once again, we like to thank Judge Joe Brown for coming out and blessing us in the space. We had a great time, and he definitely is always
Can I say one more
knowledge.
thing? Can I
Yes,
say
sir.
one more thing?
Yes,
Go
sir.
visit the real Dana. Dana
Absolutely.
with the data. And hit like and also contribute to her Cash App so she can smile at me and be sweet and giggle like she does when we have these multi-hour conversations off of the show. All right?
Absolutely. Support this sister. Definitely support Dana. Like I say, she has a great YouTube channel. Hit her Cash App as well. Also visit Newstoter.com daily. Make that your daily spot for picking up black news. And on that note, we're going to go ahead and we're going to close out the Twitter space. And I'd like to thank all of you guys for coming through, especially you, Judge Joe Brown. And hopefully we can go ahead and do it again soon. I know you have a busy schedule, but I definitely enjoyed having this conversation with you. And as always, you made the conversation great.
Thank you, sir. How bad got to go? This has been Judge Joe. I'm the one that ran, so get me when you can. I'm out of here.
All right.